What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you guys checking in. We're hitting you with a Tuesday live, man. Appreciate everybody in the building. I want to make sure everybody can hear me. Just do me a favor, hit that thumbs up if you can hear me, because there was a little bit of weirdness going on with the mic, but hopefully everybody can hear me. Appreciate everybody popping in. Do me a favor, double tap that screen. It hits the like button if you can. If you want to get included in the chat, hit the sub button. I do a sub only chat just to show my appreciation to the subscribers. Appreciate everybody that rocks with me. If you are coming over from Twitter, jump over to YouTube. Sometimes the comments, if you're trying to comment on Twitter, it doesn't show up on the screen. So jump over to YouTube if you want to get included. I definitely want to get your feedback as well. So I appreciate everybody rocking. We got a couple things to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about Clint Kubiak. Obviously, I did a little bit of a short, posted on YouTube and some of the social media handles. Basically, the Seattle GM slipped up just a little bit. Maybe it was on purpose. And basically saying that Clint Kubiak is officially going to be signing with us on Monday. And so, like I said on the short that I posted a little bit earlier, look, I'm excited. But I'm not going to break out the good stuff. I'm not going to drink to it until pen hits paper. But, you know what I'm saying? It looks like there's a damn good chance. After the Super Bowl this Sunday, it looks like Clint Kubiak is going to be the next head coach for Las Vegas Raiders, man. So, look, I'm excited. It was my number one. Chat, let me know. I'm going to hit you guys up in a second, but let me know, was Clint Kubiak your number one? Are you excited about seeing him? Did you prefer somebody else? I know a lot of people liked Michael LaFleur. He's now with the Arizona Cardinals. So let me know if you preferred him. But let me know what your thoughts are on Clint Kubiak in the chat. Kind of give me that rate it 1 to 10 if you think he's going to be the guy that's going to potentially turn this thing around. I'm going to give you my take on it. I know we talked on it with my guys, Severe and Chris, on Sunday, but I'll kind of give you just, obviously I'm excited about it. That was my number one, but I'm going to give you my take on it and just kind of how I feel and just what my expectations are when it comes to Clint Kubiak. But definitely let me know in the chat. But I'm going to say what's up to a couple people already popping through. Dominic in the building. What's going on, brother? Appreciate you popping here with me. You got Kane. Montoya, what's happening, man? A lot of the offensive coaching staff came with Kubiak from the Saints. Yes. I think he pulled over his quarterback coach. I think his O-line coach, passing game coordinator, a couple others. I don't know if his running back coach came over, but definitely he pulled a lot of the staff from the Saints over to Seattle. And I'd be really curious if he wants to kind of repeat that process. We're going to talk about some of the head coaches that some of the coaches that he could bring over from that offensive staff to kind of follow him over here, and we're going to talk about that. Definitely one guy I want to see him bring over is potentially that O-line coach, because I think that O-line coach did a damn good job of working with what he had. Obviously, they add a couple of pieces, but basically what that offensive line looked like in 2024 and how he kind of revamped it in 2025. In addition to that, man, bringing in a guy like Gray Zabel, that rookie, and then him, I believe Gray Zabel was a finalist for Rookie of the Year. And when you can make an offensive lineman a finalist for Rookie of the Year, when typically it's going to go to, the quarterback position, running back position, receiver, just the fancier positions, for you to be able to kind of elevate his game that early on as a rookie, it's got to be something. So definitely shout out to him just being able to kind of produce that. But we're definitely going to talk about some of the coaches that he has over with Seattle. Maybe they can bring him over. One thing to keep in mind, though, I understand that a lot of those coaches are still under contract. One thing I'm going to be watching for is, does Mike Macdonald, does he elevate some of those coaches to potentially take that offensive coordinator job or that offensive coordinator role, or elevate them to a higher position? Because that's the one thing we kind of want to watch out for, right? What happens, like I believe his name is Pete, the passing game coordinator over there with Seattle. Does he elevate him to the offensive coordinator position? Because if he does, then most likely he's going to stay there. But if it's a lateral move, then we basically have to either trade for them, or Seattle's got to basically cut them off, fire them, let them go, and now all of a sudden they're just on the open market. But the one thing we can do is bring them over if it is an elevation in or promotion to a higher position. Now, what I will say to that is Clint Kubiak now, if he does come over here and he is the head coach, that means that the Seattle Seahawks, Mike Macdonald, he's now going to have to get his own offensive coordinator. And when you go get your own offensive coordinator, that OC is going to want to get his own guys. So does that mean that now those guys that aren't maybe elevated or kept onto that roster, or that coaching staff, do you let those guys go? And now they're officially on the open market. Now Clint Kubiak can just swoop them up and bring them on over and let's build this thing. You know what I'm saying? And so as much as they're under contract and with Seattle, there's potential for them to be released to the open market and we can bring them on. So that's something that we definitely need to watch out for kind of after the Super Bowl, because once Clint Kubiak's over here, Mike Macdonald's going to want to make his move pretty quickly in order to fulfill that offensive coordinator role. So we'll see how it works out. But what up, Jack? What's going on, brother? Appreciate you popping up in here. What up, coach in the building? What's happening, man? This better be good. I can be a jumper right now. You could be, and hey, I know, look, we're going to talk about head coach, and I know I think when we talk about head coach in the same exact sentence, you got to kind of put patience out there, and we'll just kind of see how patient the Raider Nation is. We're going to talk about head coaches here in just a second. So, but enjoy your Jamba all you want, big dog. What up, Dre? What's going on, man? Appreciate you popping up here. Isaiah in the building. What's happening? Mayberry John, what's good? What up, John Fallon? Appreciate you rocking with me. Darth Vader pulling up. Good seeing you. Mayberry John, Kubiak can get us right quickly. He could potentially, it could happen quick, but let's just be patient, right? Let's not set the expectation too high. We're going to talk about salary cap. We're going to talk about some of the free agents. One thing that we do need to keep in mind is that as much as it's fun to talk about draft, and it is, don't get me wrong, love talking about the draft, you got to see what happens in free agency, right? Not only what we do in free agency is going to dictate what we do in the draft, but what other teams end up doing in free agency is going to move around the priorities of other teams and what they're going to target in the draft. And so free agency is going to shuffle everything up. And so that's why I want to kind of take a look at some of the free agents. There's also a big rumor. There's a big rumor kind of going around. The only reason why we're going to talk about some rumors is because they're going to be flying. Not only do we have the number one draft pick, but we're going to have the second most salary cap space. And the salary cap just increased by a lot. I believe it's estimated to be anywhere between 7.5% to 9% increase from last year. It's the biggest increase in I don't even know how long, but it's a massive increase. And so because we're setting ourselves in a pretty good position, not just draft position, but also salary cap wise, the rumor is going to start to fly. And so we'll definitely bring them up. Want to talk about it. I'll give you my take on it, but I also want to get yours as well. And so we're going to talk about the salary cap, and we're talking about some of the one rumor, some of the free agents. I'm going to pick them up, and I definitely want to get you guys feedback when we talk about it. And then we're going to talk about some of the head coach, the coaches still out there that we potentially want to bring on here. And then we'll end it off. We're talking about the Super Bowl coming up because it's going to be fun. But yes, he can get us right quickly. There's a chance, but let's be patient. Let's be patient. Dre, finally good things happen to us. It's good without question. Kubiak was my number one, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm going to soak it up as much as I possibly can. We just don't want to screw this thing up. Dre, you want Jim Schwartz? We're going to talk about it. Isaiah, Carl Brooks for DC, man. Carl Brooks, she's Carl Scott. I saw it down below. Yeah, we're going to talk about the DC moves. We'll see how we can work this thing out. John, I think if we get Kubiak and Schwartz as DC, Schwartz is a big name out there, and Benton for the offensive line, it's a home run staff no matter how the rest fills out. That would be a damn good start, John. I'm with you. It'd be a damn good start. What up, Jeffrey? What's going on, brother? Darth Vader, we're going to talk about DC here in just a second. We're going to kind of get into the salary cap and a little bit of one rumor, again, some free agents, but we're definitely going to tap into that for sure. What up, Mike in the building? If the Raiders are interested in Schwartz, what would it take to bring him in? It's going to take quite a bit because obviously he's still under contract. The only way that we can just kind of swoop him is if the Cleveland Browns just fire him, cut him, let him go. But because he's going to be a hot name, because there were so many head coaching vacancies, and I don't think every DC job has been fulfilled so far, that we're not going to be the only one in the running for potentially trying to pick him up. You got Matt LaFleur that's down there in the Arizona Cardinals. I think he still needs to fulfill his DC job. So the Cleveland Browns, if they're willing to move on from Jim Schwartz, then they know they're in the driver's seat. So they can basically up, if you want to trade for them, they're going to up that trade value a little bit. And so what that trade value looks like, I have no clue, because I have to possibly go look and see just who else needs a DC at this point. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm not a big fan of trading for coaches, but we got to hit a home run in this head coaching cycle. We got to hit a home run. We got to make sure that we set this up for success, given the fact that it's been a rough go. I think all of us can agree it's been a rough go for the last 10 years or so. We made the playoffs back in 01. I'm not 01, sorry. In 2021 with Derek Carr, obviously after the Gruden stuff went down, and that was kind of, some people can call it a fluke with Rich Bisaccia, but at the same time, it was a good run, but we decided to blow that thing up. Markdavis, he went left when you should have went right, unfortunately, and we kind of see how that worked out. But you got to hit a home run. So we have 10 total draft picks. If you want to give up a draft pick, let's say if they're willing to kind of give up a fourth or something like that, given the fact that I believe we have 2 fourths with the Jacoby Meyer trade, you want to get someone like Jim Schwartz in here, maybe you want to pull that trigger to really solidify this coaching staff, because I'm a firm believer that it does start with the coaching. Not only do you have to draft well, but you have to coach well as well. You can splash all you want in free agency, but if you don't draft well and you don't coach well, you might have a small stint of success, but at the end of the day, you're not going to have sustained success because you have to coach and draft well. So you're bringing a guy like Jim Schwartz. I wouldn't be mad at it. You know what I'm saying? And it really just depends on what type of draft capital we're willing to give. So we'll see. We'll see. And I think there's going to be some more talks in the coming weeks, and we'll definitely hit you guys with at least my take on it. What up, DK? What's going on, man? Jason in the building as well. Appreciate you popping up in here. John, I would give a blank check to Linderbaum and move JPJ to guard. We're going to talk about it. Big John in the building. What's going on, man? Kubiak isn't coming. Hey, it ain't confirmed until he signs on the dotted line, but hey, you might have to start getting comfortable with it, Big John, because it might just happen. It might just happen. Dark Jada, what's going on, man? Appreciate you rolling with me. Let's get a couple more comments in. I know Big John. Hey, Big John's a big Pete Carroll fan. Let him be. Let him be. You're right. Nothing has signed yet. That's why. Look, I'm not celebrating. I did have a couple beers on Sunday, but I didn't bring out the good stuff until that ink gets wet on that paper. So let's see. John found, I think Schwartz will force his way out, and no compensation will be needed. The only thing I'll say about Schwartz is, he's got a good defense over there. And obviously, if he was vying so hard, if he wanted to battle so hard for that Cleveland job, that head coaching job, the only question I would have is, does he want a head coaching job? Is that what he wants, right? Does he not want to entertain a lateral move? And so if in his mind he feels like he's suited to be a head coach and that's the next job he wants to take, because there's no head coaching jobs left, maybe you ride this year out knowing that you got a damn good defense over there. You got pieces in place to have another successful defensive performance, and you just find yourself in the next head coaching cycle next year. That could be an option for him. You bite the bullet, you sit it out, you kind of wait it knowing that, look, you got good pieces, you rock out one more year with a damn good defense, and you enter the next head coaching cycle. Maybe that's what he would prefer to do. That's if in the back of his mind, he feels like he needs to be a head coach. So just keep that in mind. He could very well just stick with Cleveland because it's a good spot. He's got pieces over there to find himself another successful year. So we'll see. We'll see how it works out. Let's see. We got Daniel. What's going on, man? Appreciate you. Rod Gas in the building. Shout out from Mexico. Hey, man. Shout out to you, man. I appreciate you rocking with me. Big John is going to be all about Pete Carroll. Hey, Big John, stand 10 toes down, man. You do you. You have fun with it. So let's get into it again. If you guys can, do me a favor. Double tap that screen if you guys want to get included in the chat. Hit that sub button. I do a sub-only chat. I think my next giveaway is going to be at 6,000 subscribers. All right, I just did one at 5,500. Sometimes I surprise you guys with some giveaways. I did one, I think, when we got the first round overall pick, or the first pick overall, the draft. I think I did one for that. And so if you guys want to get included in some of those giveaways, I believe my last one was my 16th giveaways since starting this channel in 23. And so it's just my way of showing my appreciation and just thanking you guys for the support. Anything I make on here, I just give back to you guys because you guys are my outlet from coaching this game and playing this game for a very long time. So I definitely appreciate you guys that's supporting me and rocking out with me. So if you're wanting to include that, I'm probably going to do a giveaway at 6,000 subscribers. Once I hit it, I'll hit you guys with it, man. I appreciate y'all. Noda Goofy. Let's celebrate a win with Kubiak, please. Yes. Everybody's going to celebrate. Big John, not so much, but everybody else is going to celebrate. B-Win in the building. What's going on, man? Salute to you. All right, we're going to get into this. We're going to have a little bit of fun. I'm going to go ahead, share the screen real quick. All right. So it's been reported the salary cap is going to go up. It's basically going to hit over $300 million. I mean, obviously for the first time ever. Basically, reports are stating that it's going to increase anywhere between 7.5% to I think 9%. That's going to take I believe it's going to take the salary cap. Let me see, to anywhere between $301 to $305 million. That's still going to put us at second most salary cap going into this free agency. And so the first question I'm going to ask, and I said this on the short that I released earlier this morning, is guys, let me know in free agency, what are the top 3 positions that you want to target in free agency? We're going to start talking about some of it. And we're going to dive into just one big name that's definitely been kind of thrown out there. And then we're going to go through some of the free agent list, position by position, just kind of see what's out there. So let me know, what top 3 position groups do you think we need to go after in free agency? Again, we got to address it, and we can address some needs prior to hitting the draft. And if we can get ourselves a center or a top guard, then that's something that we don't have to entertain in the draft, and we can go elsewhere. And so definitely got to figure out how the free agency is going to play out before we really feel we really start to target certain guys in the draft. And I know I'm not talking about the number 1 overall pick, because I know the mass majority want Fernando Mendoza. We might talk about that pick here in just a little bit, but we definitely want to address some needs. And so, no, the Goofy, you're saying O-line, definitely got to address the offensive line. It'd be very interesting to see just kind of how we address it. Do we go center? Do we go guard? I will say, and before I kind of get into some of the comments kind of throwing out their suggestions, again, if you guys are on Twitter, or if you're viewing this on Twitter, come over to YouTube. It's Real Talk Raider Nation. You'll kind of get into the chat. I don't know if the Twitter comments come on over to what I can see. So if you want to get included, definitely come over to YouTube. If you want to get included in the chat, I definitely want you to kind of see what everybody else is talking about. The offensive line is probably the trickiest thing to evaluate right now for me, going into the draft, going into free agency as well as the draft, right? We all know that Brendan Carroll was probably the worst offensive line coach we have seen in a very long time, probably the worst offensive line coach in the NFL last year. And I say probably only because I don't know what everybody else's offensive line coach looked like. But Brendan Carroll was bad. And that was my biggest concern going into last year. I said that last May on a live that I was on, and I was asked that question, after the draft, after everything kind of played out free agency, I was asked the question, what's your biggest concern? And it was Brendan Carroll, because you look at Brendan Carroll's resume, there was no reason why he should have been coaching our offensive line. And the way he shuffled everybody up, the way that he decided to play musical chairs, kind of going all the way into midway through the season, you didn't really know how well our rookies were developing. The offensive line, in my opinion, is the biggest question mark, because what we saw out of our offensive line last year, I'm not sure how we can gauge it. I don't know if we can gauge that performance as to what they really looked like. Like JPJ looked like he struggled last year, kind of before he got injured. You saw there's a little bit of struggle in preseason. You saw him struggle a little bit in the beginning. Obviously, with Jordan Meredith moving from guard to center, you saw him struggle at center. And I will tell you, based on what we saw out of Jordan Meredith at the end of the 2024 season, he was one of the better guards in the National Football League. He's probably a top 15 guards out of all the starting guards, which is 64 starting guards in the National Football League. He was probably a top 15, right? He's probably the 15th, maybe 14th best guard in the National Football League. And then you move him to center, which, if you guys ever coached this game or understood how big of a transition that is from guard to center, your hand placement is different, your footwork's different, everything is different, your pad level is different. The way that you strike initially is completely different. Having to snap the ball and then get a strike with your snap hand, it's extremely different. I mean, it takes sometimes linemen an entire season to understand a new position, and Jordan Meredith never played that position before. And so, question is, do we still have the 2024 Jordan Meredith? And we also got to understand Clint Kubiak, what type of scheme is he going to want to bring to this offense, right? Is he going to mirror what he did in Seattle? That remains to be seen. But then DJ Glaze started to show promise at the tail end of last season, or the 2024 season, but he regressed so much. So what DJ Glaze are we going to get? And then the other question is, with our third round rookies from last year, Charles Grant, as well as Caleb Rogers, with good offensive line coaching, are they going to progress? Are they going to get a lot better? And so I'll be dead honest. It is probably one of the hardest things to evaluate going into this draft and offseason is just what does our existing pieces look like on the O-line? And if we just get a good offensive line coach like Benton in the building and he can get something out of the existing pieces, do we just need a center? Do we just need one guard to kind of establish this offensive line? It remains to be seen. So that's what I'm really struggling with, to be dead honest with you, is just what does our offensive line really look like when you get a good offensive line coach in here and kick Brendan Carroll out of there? That I think, in my opinion, is the biggest reason why this offensive line as a unit completely regressed. So let's see. What up, Rosetown? What's going on, man? Appreciate you popping up in here. John, you're saying O-line, then receiver, hopefully Pierce, and one really good linebacker. All right, so for free agency, you like Pierce. We're going to talk about a rumor that just popped up before we kind of dive into the actual free agent names. But there's a rumor. But you like Alec Pierce, a really good linebacker? Yeah, we definitely got to look at linebacker, given the fact that our entire linebacker room outside of Tommy Eichenberg and Lindenberg, they were all on 1-year contracts, right? Landon Roberts, he's going into free agency. You got Devin White, free agency. Obviously, we know what happened with Jermaine Pratt. And so everybody that we brought in that were basically starting caliber linebackers, they're no longer with us. So we got to bring somebody in. Again, I would like, because we have so many holes in the linebacker room, and you can address it through free agency. You can. But you want to be able to bring in at least some stability, something that's not going to kind of pigeonhole you or force you to have to address it in the draft, right? You want to be able to at least fulfill some pieces. So I'd like to bring back a Landon Roberts. I think as a tone setter, as a leader, as somebody that can play downhill, I'd like to bring in Landon Roberts. Now, again, got to see who the defensive coordinator is going to be, what type of defense he wants to run. But what Landon Roberts brought to the defense, I think, can definitely benefit to just the defensive unit. Now, trust me, he wasn't the best in pass coverage, so I understand that. But to bring somebody in, and I think he could be brought in for a pretty inexpensive contract, a pretty team-friendly contract, given the fact that it probably will be his last contract playing in the NFL, because he's definitely up there in age. So, but a guy that I'll definitely be looking at based on the defensive coordinator that we bring in. Rod Gatch, got O-line, linebacker, and cornerback. Big John, you want an edge rusher. Man, an edge rusher was something I was targeting and starting in about the 3rd or 4th round last year. We just didn't do it. So I definitely hope that we target the edge rushing position. And there's definitely some good edge rushers in this draft. So, but through free agency, I definitely want to see us at least take a look at some. I do think that Charles Snowden is a guy that we need to bring back as a depth piece, as a competition piece. I'd definitely like to see that. But free agency, we could definitely look at the edge rushers. DK, O-line, DB, and receiver. I'd be really curious if they try to bring back Eric Stokes. You know, we got a bunch of young defensive backs in here. D-Cam is still here. You got, obviously, D-Cam. Then who's our – I'm blanking on our rookie from last year for some reason. But we got some young rookies still in there, or some young players. So I'd be curious if we bring back Eric Stokes just as a veteran piece again, so you don't pigeonhole yourself into having to get somebody in the draft. D Menace, O-line. I know we're going to be looking at it. Mike Rain, what's going on, man? O-line, linebacker, secondary. Darian Porter. All right. We got a very young DB group. Definitely want to bring in a veteran to kind of help with the development. Let's see. John, I don't know if you respond to me legitimate questions. If you are, based on, I think you might have been responding based on my offensive line take. Yeah, a lot of questions. No, the goofy high school O-line coaches are better. I'm telling you, you wouldn't be wrong. I coached high school. I knew some offensive line. I knew some offensive line coaches in high school when I coached at that level, and there were some solid offensive line coaches. And I'm telling you, Brendan Carroll, man, I had no faith. I had no faith that he was going to be able to do the job he was supposed to. And I'm a massive build the trenches, win in the trenches guy. And when you just don't address it over the last 2 seasons and make it a priority, and then you bring in someone like that, it really just pissed me off. And that was the reason why I wasn't high on picking Genty, because after you don't address the offensive line properly in free agency, that means that now if you pick Genty, you're relying on rookies. You're relying on guys to potentially develop. And with Brendan Carroll as that offensive line coach, I just knew it was going to hinder our run game. And now, obviously, you have to build the offensive line for Genty to have success. And so no matter if Genty's there or not, you have to build the offensive line, not only so that you can create running lanes for the running back, but also you protect your most prized possession, which is your quarterback. And if we go ahead and we pick Mendoza number 1, well, guess what? You better protect his ass. You better. You got to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, protect the quarterback, open up running lanes for Genty or whoever's running the rock in that backfield. And so you got to build this offensive line. It's about time we prioritize it, because I wanted to the last 2 years. Talisi Fuaga 2 years ago, Kelvin Banks last year. We just haven't. So let's see. Big John, O-line is fine. Just need a good O-line coach. If we can build off of what we ended with 2024, I think we have some very good building blocks. You know what I'm saying? But it just remains to be seen. All right, let's see. Just want to make sure I kind of get through. Megalodon, what's going on, man? 805, I heard we might move maxxcrosby for Justin Jefferson on NFL rumors. Okay, so we're going to get into this free agency talk. But, again, I don't like to talk too much about just rumors, but at the same time, because we have the number 1 overall pick, because we have the second most salary cap space, because we have a brand new head coach in Clint Kubiak, Big John. I think he's going to sign on the dotted line on Monday. There's a really good chance, right, that Clint Kubiak's going to be here and he's going to want to build up that offense. It just remains to be seen how he wants to build it up. So we're going to talk about that Justin Jefferson one. So just give me 1 second. But I appreciate you rocking with me, man. Let's see. Kane, it's crazy. Our coaching staff was so bad that we don't know what we have anymore. And that's what pisses me off. I'm telling you, that's what pisses me off. I wish we could have had just somebody that could have built this offensive line and grew off of what we had in 2024. But this is where we sit. Let's see. All right. What up, Raider Pete? What's going on, man? Bringing back Danico Autry to plug in at D tackle. It's a name that's going to be out there. We'll look at some of the free agents out there. Let's see. All right. I think hi, Skyla. Fanboy, let's go. You got QB, O-line, cornerback, and safety, receiver, and linebacker. Definitely a lot to address. We definitely need some depth at the safety position, so it's definitely something you want to take a look at. But I agree with you. Like when it comes to quarterback, I'm really curious to see just how they're going to address it, because obviously everybody thinks in the overall consensus is that it's going to be Fernando Mendoza at number 1. We could talk about that a little bit later. You got the O-line, cornerback. Safety is going to be interesting. I still want to see us bring in a good veteran quarterback. One of the reasons why I continue to say that is because even though you have, even if it's Fernando Mendoza, you have Aiden O'Connell still sitting there. At the same time, Aiden O'Connell isn't going to be the veteran that you're going to need to teach Fernando Mendoza. Fernando Mendoza needs a veteran that's going to help teach him, help him understand the ways of the NFL. All right. And Aiden O'Connell can benefit from that as well. He could benefit from a veteran being there. So no matter where we go with the quarterback position, if it is Fernando Mendoza at number one, I think you got to bring in somebody that has years in this game to help teach the young quarterbacks that we're going to have in that quarterback room. So again, a guy that I've been pointing at again, it's just because his name is there in free agency, is Marcus Mariota. I think he's a really good example of a veteran that understands this game, has been here long enough. If he has to start half the season, 3/4 of the season, maybe he starts the full season. I know a lot of people aren't a fan of that. But even if he starts half a season, you have a veteran quarterback that understands his role, that will come in and know exactly what he has to do to kind of just protect the football, sustain some drives, let the defense win you some football games to start out the season, and then you can potentially pass the torch at some point in the season. But also, in addition to that, you need a quarterback that's sitting on the bench that even if, again, we go with the Fernando Mendoza, you need a veteran quarterback that's going to be able to sit next to him when the offense is not on the field, when Fernando's on the sideline. You need someone that is going to teach him the game, that understands it to where he's understanding what the defense wants to do. He's understanding the adjustments the defense are making so he can relay that in real time when the offense is off the field. And if you have a veteran like that that can help with the progression and the adjustments, the in-game adjustments, that's huge for a rookie quarterback. And so that's what the importance of a backup quarterback is, and having a veteran in the locker room. So that was kind of my rant on a backup quarterback and veteran. So, but I'm really curious to see just kind of what they're going to do as it relates to the quarterback room. John Fallon, you don't like it. Max ain't going anywhere, so stop to talk about it. We're going to talk about that when I talk about Justin Jefferson here in just a second. And we're going to talk about that, so definitely either hold the comments or I'll try to bring it back up. Linda, do we cut Geno and save $8 million used for the O-line? Bad vibe. You save $8 million, but you also it's 20, I believe 26.5 or $28 million as a dead cap hit. So that's also going to hit you, and it's not good. I'm not a big fan of Geno in the locker room, right? There was already some rumors that JohnSpytek was calling around to potentially try to move on from Geno, try to trade him before we have to actually, cut him. And I posted a short on it and released it on social media, basically saying that it looks like there are signs that they're willing to move off of him. They're going to eat that dead cap money, or that dead money. And yes, you are going to save $8 million towards the cap space. But there is a world where Geno Smith stays on this roster. There are going to be some front offices that don't want to eat that dead cap money. And you bring him in, I wouldn't be a fan of it, but I also wouldn't be surprised, just given the fact that he's still under contract. And next year you can completely get off that contract. You can cut him, and there's no dead cap hit. So, again, not a fan of it. I don't like the way that it felt like he was conducting himself in the locker room. I do think that there probably could have been some animosity. I mean, look, I played this game for 15 years and I coached it for 23 years. And the thing is that when you know that there's just a favorite, and I'm not going to say I experienced this a lot, but I could just tell being in so many locker rooms that if there is a clear-cut favorite and there's a player that just can't do any wrong, but he's also one of the main reasons why you're either losing football games or he's just not kind of pulling his weight, and the head coach can come out to the podium and talk crap about everybody else except for your quarterback that just threw back-to-back games and had three interceptions. It's just not a good look. Now, granted, there's going to be a massive rotation in this roster. We have, I believe, around 25, 26 free agents. And so there's going to be a big rotation as it relates to this locker room. And so there's going to be a lot of new faces that didn't experience what we went through last year. But there's enough to where I do think at the end of the day, he might be enough of a cancer where you just want to move on from him and kind of just cut those ties and start fresh, because I do think that this has to be a fresh start for this organization in this locker room. So there's a world that he stays, but I also think that there's a really good chance that you move on from him and you just kind of clean slate that quarterback room. Let's see. All right, just want to make sure I kind of get to everybody. What up, Eric? What's going on? I don't know if I said what's up to you before, but appreciate you popping up in here. Boy George in the building. What's going on, man? Appreciate you rocking with me. Raider Pete, Gino, and a 7th for Coach Swords. That would be kind of wild if Gino went over to Cleveland. That would be that'd be a tough go for him. But hey, if you get him off, if they want to pay that and we only got to give up a 7th, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I'm with you. John, not in my world. He's a cancer period, and I'll take the pass. Or I'll take the loss. Yeah, I'm with you. I'll take the loss as well. I do think he is a cancer, and at the end of the day, you kind of want to remove it. And I think Clinton Kubiak, what I think is going to be great about Clinton Kubiak is it does represent a fresh start. You know, this is somebody that over the last 2 coaches, AP, this was one of the things that I said when we were trying to make the decision as to whether or not we were going to hire on AP, is the tough part about AP is that anytime you hire on a brand new coach, you want to give them at least 3 to 4 years. But you also hear the rumblings, and everybody wants to say you got to trust the process. Well, unfortunately, with AP, you couldn't trust the process because he had really no coaching experience. He was in the NFL for only, I want to say maybe 3 to 4 years. Prior to that, 5 years before that opportunity, he was coaching high school football. So the problem is that he had no process. Yes, he was a Super Bowl winner as a player, and that's great, but you saw the process as a player, not as a coach. So you had no process to kind of fall back on. And that was my biggest concern. And I posted a video on that. Now, you had Pete Carroll. Problem is how long Pete Carroll is going to last a process, right? So he was old. Problem is you don't know when age was going to keep up with them, and just the dysfunction that we saw, it was time to move on. Especially given the fact that if you have the number 1 overall draft pick, it's time to do a rebuild, and Pete Carroll's not a rebuild guy. I think Clint Kubiak represents a brand new fresh start, something we haven't had in quite a while. And you now can, based on his experience, and I'm on Sunday for 24 hours, I'm going to be a Seattle Seahawks fan. I want to see him win that Super Bowl. And now we can sit back as a fan base, no matter how the next 3 years look, we can sit back and at least try to trust the process and not call for him to just be absolutely fired the first couple of years in. You know, we have to be able to not only trust the process, but to correct our name amongst the NFL world as the organization that hires head coaches and we don't allow them to build the foundation. We don't give them the opportunity. We got to correct that name. And so we have to give them at least the 3 to possibly 4 years. Let's build this foundation. Let's make sure that we correct that name if in 4 to 5 years we're back in this head coaching cycle. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but just in case. No, Goofy. All right, you're saying worse than Minshew. Gino was horrible. Gino was bad. We're definitely not gonna deny that. The only thing Gino can pull is losing, destroying the weights. What's going on, man? Get Vagino out of here. Yeah, I do think it is time to move on. I'm just saying there is a world because of his salary cap hit that he might stay. And if Clint Kubiak thinks he could work with them just in the short term, it might happen. But we'll see how it works out. Dominic, man, I appreciate you throwing a super chat out there, brother. I would sign Rashid Shaheed, Seattle's right tackle, Josh Jones, Seattle's cornerback, Reek Woolen, Seattle's linebacker, Leo Chenal. Man, I remember Leo Chenal coming out. I actually was a fan of him. You said Bleak Woolen from Seattle, Leo Chenal from the Chiefs, Tevin Jenkins, Browns, and Evan Neal from the Giants. Evan Neal's definitely a name that I do like as well. So, it's going to be very interesting to see just kind of how we address the offensive line, because I do think we need to get true depth pieces as well, because we're going to have a lot of youngsters on this offensive line. A lot of guys that are kind of second-year players, and as much as Jordan Meredith, I believe this is going to be his third year in the league. He's still fairly young. Colton Miller's truly our only veteran, right? And if you go into the draft and you try to go draft somebody, let's say you go draft a guard or you go draft the center, it's probably going to be one of the youngest offensive line groups in the National Football League. And so you definitely want maybe another veteran presence. I know we have Alice Kappa. He's a veteran presence, so maybe you just keep him as a backup. Obviously, he's still under contract, but I would like to go get a veteran presence on this offensive line to be just another teacher in this offensive line group. And anytime you go bring in an offensive-minded head coach or an offensive coordinator, typically they will bring in somebody from that offensive line to kind of help teach everybody else and be an extra coach on the field and an extra coach in that offensive line room. And so, definitely looking at that Seattle offensive line might be a good idea. So we'll definitely look into that, man. So Dominic, I appreciate that super chat, brother. Big John, you're staying 10 toes down. I like it. What up, Billy? What's going on, man? Appreciate you rocking. Okay, so we kind of talked about the salary cap, but here's the thing. I want to talk about a rumor that's kind of floating out there. Someone just touched on it, so I'm going to kind of bring this one up to the big screen. But obviously with Clint Kubiak coming in, and Clint Kubiak does have some history with this rumor that's kind of floating around. I'm going to pick it up here. And so rumors are kind of they're starting, all right? And rumors are just what they are. They're just a rumor, okay? There is some connection with Justin Jefferson. In addition to that, you also have an offensive-minded head coach that I don't know how aggressive he's going to want to be when he steps foot into the front office, into that coaching room, right? Is he going to want to hit the ground running? Is he want to bring in, because we have a lot of salary cap space, is he going to want to make a massive splash? You look at what Josh McDaniels did. Josh McDaniels came in and did a massive splash and went and got Davante Adams. Could Clint Kubiak want to do something very similar? And so that's why I only raised the question. Guys, let me know in the chat. Would you want to potentially see Justin Jefferson come in? Obviously, you'd have to trade for him. You'd have to give up some damn good draft capital. The only thing that I would say is that if you went ahead and did this, I think that does mean that you might end up moving on from maxxcrosby. You try to go get as much draft capital as you can for maxxcrosby. Maybe you try to get 2 number ones, and that might be the draft capital that you use to go get yourself a Justin Jefferson. Let me know. Let me bring this one down. Let me know what your thoughts are on possibly bringing in Justin Jefferson. It's going to be a massive hit to the salary cap. You're going to have to possibly pay him massive money. I don't know what you could potentially restructure it if you wanted to. But you gotta fork over the draft capital. And again, I think that means that you might see a maxxcrosby leave the building if you end up doing that. So we got a couple people responding here. Big John, you got a hell no. Go to Goof, you got a no thanks. Let's see, Jeffrey. You never know. Clint took Seattle's job thinking Geno would be the quarterback. Just saying, maybe. Exactly. Like, you just really don't know what's going on with Clint Kubiak in his mind. Maybe Clint's perfectly fine with work with Geno for 1 year, because again, you can offload that contract next year. There's no hit to the dead cap money. You can cut Geno and you're good. And so, question is, does he think I could maybe draft a quarterback, rock with Geno for 1 year, make that work, and then you move on from Geno the next? Again, not saying that would be my plan, Jeffrey. Obviously, I don't think you're meaning that's your plan either. But we just it's an option. It's an option. So, Linda, fix the old line, not a receiver away from a Super Bowl. John Fallon, yes, on Jefferson, but not at the cost of Max. Dominic, he's saying buy Max. Does that mean because you're cool bringing in Jefferson? Let me know. Big John, you're saying it will be a big problem like the Davante Adams. Look, in my opinion, don't take what happened with Davante Adams and think this could be the same situation. I only say that because I'm gonna be real with y'all. I know a lot of people talk bad about Davante Adams and hated the fact that he kind of everybody kind of talked to him or talked about him like a diva and stuff like that. And you can say he kind of acted that way. Don't get me wrong, but I also think I also think that there's a really good chance that just us as an organization, or I'd say Josh McDaniels, kind of screwed him. He came over knowing that he wanted to play with Derek Carr, and then all of a sudden you kind of just oust Derek Carr. He's out of there. And Devonta Adams was like, you know what? If this isn't what I came over here because this is what I wanted. And look, the first year with Derek Carr and Devonta Adams, that was nasty. That first year that they had together was absolutely nasty, and they did damn good things. And yes, the second year kind of going into it was a little rocky. I understand that, but you basically just offload the guy that he came over to play with. And, if he wasn't cool with it, and look, we've been an organization that has not treated people properly. It's just been a stain on what this organization has been. And this is why we kind of put ourselves in this type of situation. And so, again, yeah, if he wants to move on, then you do you, right? But I think this is a very different situation from the Devonta Adams situation. He will come over here, and Clinton Kubiak, because of his situation, because of the history that he has with Justin Jefferson, I could see it being very different. So, again, not saying I want him, but I could see it just being very different. So I don't know if I would look at those two situations as the same. So, guys, let me know if I'm wrong, or if you think differently. Let's see. B-Win, you got good trade. Dominic, honestly, I want Max traded regardless. Dominic Jefferson, not a diva receiver. Isaiah, fuck Devonta Adams, excuse my language, but he's pathetic. I mean, and look, I know a lot of people had that take, and initially, yeah, you know what I'm saying. But I also know we're not the. I look at it like this, right? And I kind of hate to make this analogy, but I look at our organization as Raiders. I love the Raiders. I've been a Raider fan since 9 years old, and I'm 42 years old. I'm a diehard Raider fan. I love them to death. But I look at the Raiders, and I kind of make this comparison like my kids, right? I love my kids, but I'm not to tell my kids they screwed up when they screwed up, right? I got to call it how it is. That's the only way that I'm going to kind of see the light with my kids, right? Is and hope that they become better. Is that I could also be very, very critical of what the Raiders do, because at the same time, when they screw up, you look at what Devonta Adams is doing over there. What would have happened if maybe we kept Derek Carr? I'm not saying Derek Carr's going to go off and win a Super Bowl. But what happens if we continue to just ride that out? And you look at what Devonta Adams is doing. You know what I'm saying? He's finding success. He's not the number one receiver over there, but he's a piece to that puzzle. You know what I'm saying? He was a successful piece of that puzzle. So, I think we did him kind of dirty. Yeah, he kind of wanted to get out, so you do your thing. You know what I'm saying? And we just need to correct our wrongs, and we need to kind of right this ship in the right direction. And hopefully this can be the time with Clinton Kubiak that we can completely hit the reset button, and we can now become that franchise that disgruntled players will now want to come play for us because we're that good. Let's hope we can right that ship and turn this thing around. Let's see, John, I would offer two second round picks for Justin Jefferson with next year's second. That could become a first if incentives are met. To be honest with you, I would think it would be nothing truly incentive based. I think you're basically trying to get two number one. I think Vikings are trying to get two number ones, to be honest with you. Because I don't know if there's any. I mean, these are just rumors, right? These are people putting it out there. I don't think Justin Jefferson has been disgruntled over there or asked for any trades. Chat, correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't seen anything on that. And so, given the fact that if he hasn't really shown any interest in being traded, then the Vikings are going to be like, hey, you better give us an absolute haul to kind of take this guy off our hands. So it'd be interesting to see. Isaiah trade Max in a heartbeat for Justin Jefferson. Let's see. Seventh, what's going on, man? It was only rocky that second year with Carr and Adams, though, because of a bad play call on Daniel's part. I swear he coached Carr out of town intentionally, and I think Adams saw that. I think that whole situation was bad. I think it was all just bad from start to finish. And so, we'll see. We'll see how it kind of plays out. But again, Isaiah, yeah, I appreciate it. I'm with you. The hate could be perfectly fine for Devonta Adams. I'm with you on it, but I just hope that, again, this is just the time we can right the wrongs, and we become that organization that gets the disgruntled players and we get something out of them. No to Goofy. He wanted to move on. No problem. Thanks for your service. Dominic, don't blame him for wanting out. So here's my quick take. Here's my quick take on the Justin Jefferson situation. Again, it's just a rumor, so we'll take it for what it's worth. But for myself, I want nothing to do with Justin Jefferson. I think that we need to start to really build the foundation of this team, right? Whether it's you get Mendoza, again, we'll talk about Mendoza here, probably maybe a little bit later, but I think we got to set the foundation. If we want to make a big splash, let's make a big splash on the offensive line, right? We invested the draft capital in Ashton Jeanty, so let's give Ashton Jeanty the resources that he needs to find success. And so if we want to make a big splash, let's splash on the offensive line, and let's address a lot of these maybe fancier pieces like a receiver, maybe in the draft. Maybe you try to get one in the second round. Maybe, again, if there is a scenario where you trade back, maybe you get a receiver if you trade back. If you address the offensive line in free agency. Again, I'm not saying I want to do that. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing options out there. I think we have to set the foundation first. And I just don't think we're ready for that big splash. The reason why McDaniels kind of made that big splash is because we already had Carr. We had Darren Waller. We had Josh Jacobs. We had Hunter Renfrow. We had a lot of pieces in place that big splash was going to be a good piece of that puzzle. Right now, we don't have very many good pieces. And so Justin Jefferson, I think, would just be that shiny object that everybody wants to go after. And that means that now you're maybe relying on maybe some rookies on the offensive line, maybe some you might be relying on some lower end free agents to potentially come in, because that would be potentially your big splash. I know we have a lot of free agency money. I know we have a lot of salary cap, but we also have a lot of free agents that we need to re-sign or potentially go out into free agency and acquire onto this roster. And so we have a lot of holes to fill. And so Justin Jefferson would be that big splash. And I just don't want the big splash to be the receiver. And I don't want to give up draft capital for that type of receiver, again, in my opinion. So, guys, let me know if you agree or disagree. Again, this is just a rumor, but because of just the pieces that I think we're going to be putting into place, I think it's worth at least talking about just a little bit. Isaiah, man, yeah, I don't think they trade him, just answering the question, but I do want to trade Max, accelerate the rebuild. I'll address this really quickly. I hate saying it because, look, Max, I would love it if Max played out his entire career with the Raiders, right? And unfortunately, we just, as an organization, we weren't able to kind of get him in his best years. Let's say you go after Mendoza. There's a really good chance that Mendoza may not hit the peak of his performance, and maybe we don't fight for a Super Bowl until possibly year 3. You kind of got to just look at it in that terms, right? Is that by year 3, maybe that's when you're fighting for a Super Bowl. And the question is Max still at the top of his game? He's gone through now 2 seasons with injuries. 2 years ago, he had an injury. Reports are coming out. He damn near died from that goddamn injury. And then last year, the reports are coming out that he played the majority of the season with an injury. And so do you move on from Max, knowing that he may not be a piece of the puzzle until 3 years from now? Because if you get Mendoza, it might take him that long to really hit the peak. And now we build the pieces around him to make that push for the Super Bowl. Or do you trade him at his top value right now to get more draft capital and continue to build around Mendoza if that is the pick? And the thing to think about is, it's not about, if you get Mendoza, you got the one thing to kind of just take into consideration. If you draft Mendoza and you don't trade back and stockpile a bunch of first round draft picks, if you pick Mendoza, you now can use those additional first round draft picks, whether it's this year, maybe next year, and you could trade back a little bit. Let's say you trade 2 first round draft picks for Max, right? You get an additional one this year and you have 2 next year. You can take one of those 2 next year and trade back just a little bit and acquire another decent haul, depending on where that draft pick is. Let's say we're picking number 5 next year, and you want to trade back maybe 2 spots, knowing you already have your quarterback, you already addressed some needs in the previous year's draft, you still have decent salary cap space, you can move back with that second number 1 or that second first round draft pick and acquire more draft capital for the next 2028 draft season, right? Or 2029. Like, you can continue to compile draft picks with that draft capital that you get from maxxcrosby. All right, hopefully that made sense. I tried to kind of piece it together a little bit. A lot of moving parts to that type of scenario, but just because you get 2 first-round draft picks doesn't mean you necessarily need to use them exactly where you get them. You can move back a little bit, and now you're acquiring more draft capital in future drafts, and now you're really building. Now you're really setting the foundation if Mendoza is your guy. So just think of it that way, because I think Max full value is going to be this season, because after that, I'm not sure how much more value you're going to get out of him. And are you really going to get a first rounder after this season? Because is Max going to be a piece of the puzzle depending on the development of Fernando Mendoza? You just don't know that. You don't know that. You got to weigh those options. All right, guys, if you guys are on Twitter, man, jump over to YouTube. The channel's Real Talk Raider Nation. Get included in the chat. We will definitely like it if you get in here and just kind of get included. Definitely want you to see what everybody's saying as well. Let's see. 7th, you got passing on Justin Jefferson. I'd rather have Tyler Linderbaum to solidify the offensive line, although JPJ may be on his way back to center. We're going to talk about Linderbaum here in just a second. We appreciate everybody rocking. Let's see. Linda, you're saying if you're in a rebuild, we need all our picks and more 2s and 3 years more 2 to 3 years to set our team right. I think you're saying we need at least 2 to 3 years to set our team right. I think that's what you're saying. But I'm with you. Let's rebuild. Let's hit the reset button. It's time. It's time to do it. Done. We could do both, O-line and receiver. Are you saying we could do both in free agency and still get the top guys? Or are you just saying we could do both, maybe get the top receiver, get maybe a lower end, not the top offensive lineman, but maybe second or third? Are you saying we could do both and just in that combination? I mean, we can, but we got a lot of free agents. We got a lot of holes we got to fill. Isaiah, I'm still team Romeo Dobbs. We're going to talk a little bit about the receivers. B-Win, we can make a lot of splashes. We can make some splashes, but again, I guess it's just strategic, right? You want to make them in the right areas. Also, you don't have to spend all the salary cap space. You can roll over. The reason why we have the second most salary cap space this year is because we didn't spend it all last year, so we rolled some over. And so for myself, we don't need to make the splash. If Fernando Mendoza is your guy, you don't need to expect to win, 9, 10, 11 games next year. Let's build the foundation. Let's roll some salary cap space over. So then when Fernando Mendoza, if that's the guy, he is now ready in year 2 to really start to build and make some really good, strong progress. You're building more. You're establishing the building blocks year over year, not just that one big splash in year 1 when you're still in the developmental phase of a quarterback. Again, if Mendoza's the guy. 7th, I hear Antonio Brown's available. Man, that guy. That's probably one of the main reasons why John Gruden should not be the next head coach. I'm probably going to piss some people off, but John found Devontae had Jimmy hospital balls Garoppolo. I know, man. Imagine that. Imagine how much you'd just be pissed off about that. Man, it was hospital balls, man. Kane, what's going on, man? I appreciate you throwing a super chat out there, brother. It's best we get some O-line DBs, a receiver, and a good linebacker in free agency. Best to get pricey positions that don't take long time to develop or are very scheme dependent, like D-line, Hunter, Zion, Moore, Skyler. In second and third round, trenches help all. Trenches help all. I'm a massive building the trenches guy. But also at the same time, and I don't know if you guys have rocked with me before. If you guys have, you probably have heard my strategy, just what I like to do as it relates to the draft is whenever you're picking in the first round, especially in kind of like the top 10, maybe top 12, there's certain position groups that I target because they're going to demand the most salary cap if you can draft those guys in the first round and they ultimately end up being a top 3 to top 5 player at that position and you can get them on a rookie contract. These are the position groups that I always target in the top 10 to 12 if you are sitting in that position. Number one, quarterback. Then you have you have left tackle or right tackle because, again, it's all about building the offensive line. So specifically left tackle, but you can definitely work with the right tackle. Number one receiver, number one corner, number one and a top edge rusher. Those are the 5 position groups that if I'm picking top 10 to 12, I'm targeting those. Because again, if you can get those type of guys on a rookie contract with a 5th-year option, and they ultimately end up being a top 3 to top 5 guy at that position, you have a steal all the way through their rookie contract with that 5th-year option. And so again, those are the guys that I like to target. And so, and that's why, again, I know a lot of people like Genty, and that's fine, but that's one of the reasons why I wasn't a big fan of getting Genty, because Genty's already basically getting paid the second most guaranteed money. And I believe he is already possibly top 10 in overall yearly contracts when it comes to running backs. And so you're already paying a rookie like a top running back in the league. And so look at Teterow McMillan. T-Mac as a rookie is getting paid. I think his yearly salary is like he's getting paid like the 23rd or 24th best receiver in the National Football League. That's a long ways from what Jamar Chase got paid. And so if T-Mac in the next 4 to 5 years can ultimately end up being a top 3 receiver, which I think he can. T-Mac was my number 1 receiver last year, and I wouldn't have mind getting him at number 6. You get a steal within that rookie contract. And so, for myself, I definitely want to target some of those position groups in the top of this draft. Again, I know a lot of people like Mendoza, and we'll kind of see how that works out. But definitely want to address some of the bigger position groups in free agency. Again, I'm more of an offensive line guy. I definitely want to see us address it in the offensive line, and we're going to talk about that in just a second, because again, there's another top name that a lot of people are liking as it relates to addressing the offensive line. So we're going to definitely jump into that. So, man, but I appreciate the super chat. Do me a favor, double tap that screen if you like what you're hearing. I do have memberships. If you want to support the channel, I dropped memberships about a month ago. We're going to break down game film in this upcoming season, off season. Now that we know, or at least on Monday, that Clint Kubiak's coming over here, we're going to start doing a deep dive into the free agents that we think can fit his system. And we're going to do some game film breakdown. We break down game film all in the season. So after every single game, every Wednesday, we break down the game film of the previous game. And we're going to be breaking down free agent prospects, and we're going to be breaking down draft prospects all the way leading up to free agency as well as the draft. And so definitely tap in with that. If you do become a member, then you can throw out suggestions, and we'll kind of put those at the top of the list, and we'll break down that game film. And so we don't, but I appreciate the super chats. I appreciate all the members, the subscribers, everybody viewing. If you're over on Twitter, come over to YouTube, get involved in the chat so everybody can see it. The channel's Real Talk Raider Nation. We definitely appreciate it. But man, appreciate the super chat. Big John, that's the problem with the other Raider fans. They don't want offense, but without defense, you're not going to go anywhere or win any games. Look, I played defense the majority of my life, so I understand the importance of defense, and without question, I want to see us build the defense. You definitely have to have the right pieces. But with Clint Kubiak, man, there's a good chance that we're going to build up that offense. But I'm with you. Definitely got to build that defense. But that's why I think getting someone like Schwartz in here would be a really good idea, given the fact that if he could build that side and you don't have to break the bank for a lot of top defensive names, and you can coach them up, then I definitely think it's a good balance within a coaching staff. So, but trust me, I played defense the majority of my life. I played a lot of offense, played running back, stuff like that. All right. So I was a running back as well on the offensive side, but the majority after kind of high school moved into just playing defense. And so, but hey, I am a firm believer. Defense wins championships. So I'm not gonna clown defense. Not at all. Dominic, we don't have a lot of our own free agents to bring back. We don't. That's why a lot of that salary cap is going to be allocated to some of these, just filling some holes on the roster through free agency. 7th, they're not trading Max, dude. Maybe not. Maybe not. Big John, Max ain't going anywhere. I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying you got to just look at the whole picture. We are in a full rebuild, and it just depends on if Max is truly, his timeline aligns with that rebuild. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I want to trade Max. I want Max to be here his entire career. I'd love it, man. He is the epitome of what a Raider is. I love it. You know, trust me, I still have PTSD when we moved on from Khalil Mack. I did not want to move on from Khalil Mack. But at the end of the day, you always have to know this is a business. It's a business. And so if the moment you start to look at it that way, then you'll understand why moves are made in the way they are. Not to say we have to be happy about it, but just think it that way. What up, Money Chuck? What's going on, man? I know I mentioned something about Genty, so hopefully you're not yelling at me in the chat. But we have 2 shiny pieces in Bowers and Genty that we didn't have to trade much. Much needed draft capital for. No to Jefferson. All right, and look, those are good pieces, right? Genty is a good piece. Genty is a damn good piece as a running back in the running back field. So it's definitely attractive to kind of have him back there. And then in the same breath, Brock Bowers. It's damn good to have Brock Bowers. And so there's definitely things to build off of and build on. But I do think we still need a number one. We still need a number one receiver. And I'm a true believer that we got to go out and we got to get somebody that's going to kind of help out Brock Bowers and obviously help out Genty, right? You need somebody that's going to be that. That's why I'm so pissed off that we traded Jacoby Myers. Whether or not you wanted Jacoby Myers to be gone, no matter whether or not you think he should have got paid the way he did, I never thought he should get paid as the number one receiver. But to extend him, if Jacoby Myers was still on this roster, man, I think we just needed maybe one more piece to add to this because I think Jack Besh, it remains to be seen just kind of what Jack Besh still can do. I wasn't a fan of the pick at all. Deontay Thornton, I think, has a lot of growing to do as well. Remains to be seen what he can do. I still think we need a true number one. Whether we get that through the draft or we get that through free agency, I still think we need a true number one to kind of help out some of the good pieces that we have, Brock Bowers as well as Genty. So let's see. I know, John. Don't worry. 805 Max ain't going anywhere. He'll only be traded if he wants to be traded. We'll see how it works out. We will see. Billy, Max is a true Raider. I don't deny that. You don't trade people like that. I don't deny that, man. But I still have PTSD of Khalil Mack, man. Hopefully that doesn't happen. All right, see what up, Joseph? What's going on, man? Don't trade Crosby. I don't want to trade him. I don't want to trade him. You know what I'm saying? But we'll see. We will see what happens. What up, Rundown? What's going on, man? Hey, shout out to Rundown. You definitely take JJ. All right. Guys, definitely go hit up Rundown, man. I think Rundown, you said something, or you posted something on your channel about you got like a new sponsor. You're linking up with somebody, man. Congrats to you. Congrats to you, man. Keep doing your thing. Keep grinding, brother. Good for you guys. Make sure you guys go over to Rundown's channel. Go show some love over there. Say what's up to him, man. Do me a massive favor, guys. About 160 in the building. Again, if you're over at Twitter, come over to YouTube, Real Talk Raider Nation, so we all can see what your chat looks like and what you're saying. But do me a massive favor. Double tap that screen if you like what you're hearing. But do me a massive favor. Hit the hashtag Raiders if you're saying something about what I'm saying, just because it catches my eye. I definitely want to see it. If you definitely coming back at me, let me know. Billy, we hit the reset button the last 20 years. We have, and we finally need. And that's the reason why this one needs to be a full reset. That's why this one we have to do it right. Because I'm telling you right now, if this one doesn't work out, you know, if we give Kubiak at least 3 to 4 years to potentially set the foundation and try to work it out, and if it doesn't work out, trust me, the fan base is going to be pissed. But at least we can go back with Kubiak and go, look, he had the experience. It was a good, he had the experience. Again, if he wins a Super Bowl, you know, you can say that the direction was right. All right. And you can say that it was right to give him the time. But I also think the fan base is going to be pissed because it was just another misstep, unfortunately. But I'll talk a little bit about Kubiak a little bit more. But yes, we have been rebuilding for quite a while. Seventh said, "Oh, come on, man. Brown was a great receiver at the time who could have been that he was going to go full 51-50. Like, but you read it wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the part that I just struggle with is that, Antonio Brown at the time was touted as one of the better receivers in the National Football League. I get it, but like when you make that big of a splash, when you go and get him and you just didn't see the writing on the wall, like the problem is it wasn't like he played with us. He played as a Raider and it just didn't work out. You saw that he didn't even want to be here in the first place. The biggest thing was that whole helmet crap. When he was holding out of practice because he couldn't figure out what helmet he wanted to wear, and then all of a sudden he gets traded right before the trade deadline, and he missed out, I believe, on $31 million. And on social media, you see him go do backflips in his backyard because he just got traded and missed out on $31 million. And then he's on the first flight to the Patriots, which we all knew that Antonio Brown wanted to ultimately play for the Patriots or play with Tom Brady, and he ends up at practice day one and no helmet issue. All of a sudden, the helmet issue is gone when you're with the Patriots. Like the problem that I had is that John Gruden didn't see that, and Antonio Pierce completely played you. And then you just combine that with all the other mishaps that happened with John Gruden and that regime. But that's what pissed me off, and that's honestly partially it's like, why? All right, John Gruden, you keep doing your YouTube stuff and content creating stuff, and you have fun. And none of us as fans on the outside looking in could have seen it, but it's up to them to see that. That was a big misstep, unfortunately. What up, Bebop? What's going on, man? The Lions first and maybe receiver one in free agency. Yeah, we'll see. Daytona, linebacker, safety, tight end, running back. We definitely need a good blocking tight end. One thing we do, we break down game film every Wednesday during the season. And the one thing I'll say, yes, our O-line was bad, but I'm telling you, our run blocking, our tight ends as run blockers were horrible. Brock Bowers, bad. Michael Mayer, when he was supposed to be our better run blocking tight end, he probably had one good game, maybe two, showing that he could be a sufficient run blocking tight end. Outside that, atrocious. Ian Thomas, horrible. Now, could you equate that to some of Brendan Carroll and he was horrible as the run game coordinator? You could, but there's definitely about 3 tight ends in free agency that I want to look at that can be true run blocking tight ends that I think we need to bring in. Because yes, our O-line was bad, but our tight ends were horrible at blocking. So you say tight end, yes, definitely want to see it. I definitely want to bring in another running back, as well as through free agency. You're saying tend to be cost effective in free agency. You want O-line, D-line, cornerback, receiver, generally are not. All right, money check outside of Lindenbaum. I'm not very excited about the O-line players available in the second round of the draft. There's good O-line value. Max, I never can pronounce his name. I think that's the Arizona State guy. I'm definitely going to be doing some research on him. Is a beast I'd like to draft. I know he got a lot of people are talking about him, especially from his performance from the Senior Bowl. So I'll be doing my research, and we'll be breaking down some game film of that guy because I definitely want to look at some of the offensive tackles in this draft. Big John, bring back Khalil Mack. I wouldn't be mad at it because the last active player that I bought his jersey was Khalil Mack. When we ended up moving on from him, I was like, nope, I'm out. I'm done. I'm never buying an active player's jersey again. But if you go ahead and bring Khalil Mack back, that means I got about 5 jerseys that I could bring back out of the closet. So I wouldn't be mad at it. Rundown. Yeah, man. We could link up, Rundown. Let's do it. Because I know you're definitely more on the unless you've changed your mind over the last few days, but I think you're more on the Fernando Mendoza side. I'm more on I'm concerned, and I'd be open to a trade back if the Jets want to give us a haul. So we could definitely link up, man, and talk about it. I definitely like talking to people that kind of have a different perspective, but I also like talking to people that do their homework. And I know you do it. Jason Downs, he likes to do his homework as well, man. So I definitely like to rock with and chop it up with people that I know do their homework. And so we can definitely do that. We'll definitely link up. So Lamar in the building. What's going on, man? If we trade Lamar, do you guys? If we trade Lamar to you guys, what would your reaction be? I'm not a big. God dang! Like I would have mixed emotions because if you trade for Lamar, it's an instant like you want to win today, you want to win now. But I also think that we're just not ready for a quarterback. You got to build around him. You really do. And I just don't know if we're ready right now. And could you go through free agency in the draft and really start to build it? Yes, you could. But I want to do it the right way. You know, you got Clint Kubiak, you got somebody that hopefully can develop a quarterback. And so I'd love to get somebody on a rookie contract, whether it's this year, whether you develop somebody and you get somebody late in the rounds, or you go get somebody next year, depending on what their strategy is. Again, I know the mass majority want Fernando Mendoza, and that's most likely what the pick is going to be. But my thing is that I'd much rather take that route of Clint Kubiak, finding his guy in the draft, draft him, develop him, get him on a fifth year, on a rookie contract with a fifth year option, and build that way. That's what I'd like to do. As much as I like Lamar Jackson, and I do think that he could be an instant win now guy, I think we got a lot of pieces that we need to build around him. So I would have mixed emotions. Chat, let me know if you're not already responding. Let me know what your thoughts are on trading for Lamar Jackson. I would have a lot of mixed emotions. Sorry if that's a kind of a half-ass answer, but that's kind of what it is. What up, Just Wins, baby? What's going on, man? House Junkies, what's going on, man? Do me a massive favor, guys. Hit that hashtag Raiders if you got a question or something for me. It catches my eye. I got about 160 in the building, so do me a favor. Hit that hashtag Raiders because I definitely want to scroll and kind of get to the next subject. But if you have a question or response to me, hit that hashtag Raiders. John, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you throwing a super chat out there. Would love to get Kenneth Walker in free agency. I think Kenneth Walker is a damn good running back. I think where I struggle with bringing Kenneth Walker is I do think we need a good I'm more of that 1-2 punch type of running running back type of guy. Like I want that 1-2 punch. I want that running back by committee. That's what I like because I know running backs get hurt a lot, right? And running backs lifespan in the NFL isn't very long. I believe the lifespan right now for a running back is around 4 years. And so you know, I think we need someone that's going to give Genty a breather. I think we need someone that's going to offload Genty a little bit, maybe, 7 to 10 carries a game. We didn't use him a lot as a third-round back. I think Genty can be a third-round back, but we didn't use him a lot like that. And so I'd like to get somebody that is going to, again, just offload some carries because if we want Genty to last his entire rookie contract with us, and potentially, if you take on his fifth-year option, you can't expect him to touch the ball 35 times a game and last that long. I mean, can he? He possibly can, but you're going to run him into the ground. And I don't want to do that to Genty. And so there are some rookies that are, there's some free agents that I want to go after. I think Kenneth Walker wants to be the featured guy. As much as I like Kenneth Walker, don't get me wrong, the injury history kind of concerns me. I know he had some injury history in the years past. This year, he seemed pretty healthy. But Kenneth Walker is going to want to come and be the guy. And Genty is the guy. And so I want to get somebody that is going to be okay with being that backup to Ashton Genty, but also good enough to where if he does offload, 7 to 10 carries a game off of Genty, then you don't fall off too much when it comes to the production. But also if by chance Genty gets hurt, he has to sit out a game, a half a game, maybe a few games, you don't fall off too much because it just history tells us running backs get hurt. And the problem is I want to be able to bring in somebody that is going to help the running game in a way that doesn't fall off too much if that does happen, and I hope it doesn't. But Kenneth Walker, I do think is going to want a starting position, and I'm not willing to pay him that much money because we have Genty. If that makes sense, man. John, let me know if that makes sense or not. But I appreciate you rocking with me. I appreciate the super chat, brother. Let's see. Remember, hit that hashtag Raider. What up, Troy? What's going on, man? He said, what up? 805, trade down more picks and trade Genty for more picks. even though I was not a big fan of the Genty pick. I think it'd be rough to kind of trade Genty away at this point. If you're and again, I know money check, I'm probably going to piss you off, but this is just my opinion. If someone wanted to come and give me a first rounder for Genty, I'm doing it in a heartbeat. I'll do it in a heartbeat. Give me a first round for Genty. I'd do it. I just don't think it's going to happen at all. Genty's already on contract. I think you kind of keep him on the roster. You write out that contract. I think the problem with all the Genty fans out there, though, is if you do go get Mendoza this year, I'd bet money you don't bring Genty on a second contract. You may not even entertain his fifth-year option, because the moment you get Mendoza, and if Mendoza's as good as everybody says he's going to be, and he's that next franchise quarterback, you're not going to stare down the barrel of a massive contract with Genty, and also knowing you're going to have to follow it up with a massive, massive contract with Fernando Mendoza. You're going to have to find ways to save salary cap space, and you're not going to dump it into a running back. That's what free agency tells you. That's what the league tells you, is you're not going to dump it into a running back. So you're going to most likely take that money that you would dump into Genty for that next contract and invest in the offensive line. At least that's what I would do. And you run it back with another good running back in the draft, maybe, or you go through free agency. That's just what I would do. But again, just my opinion. If the Jets, and again, Troy, this is just to answer your question. If the Jets want to give me 3 first rounders, I'm starting to lean on entertaining that. If you want to give me a first rounder for Genty, then I'm game to do that as well. Because again, I'm not a big fan of grabbing a running back early in the first round. I know a lot of people don't like that, but again, that's just me. But Troy, man, I appreciate you rocking with me. Show Deuces, what's going on? Mac not coming back. He wants to play for a Super Bowl contender in free agency and ship. That ship failed sales. I know. There's a good chance he doesn't come back. Wishful thinking. I want to bring back those jerseys out of my closet. We'll see, though. What up, Judo Joe? What's going on, man? What's happening? Jets getting Kyler Murray. So there's 2 wild cards when we talk about the quarterback position in the draft. And John, man, I see your super chat. I'm going to get down to it, man. I appreciate you. You said Jets getting Kyler Murray. I don't know if you're just saying that that's going to happen, or there's maybe a report getting thrown out there. I don't know. But there's going to be some wild cards that'll pop up possibly, right? As of right now, you got the Jets that need a quarterback and us. That's really it right now. But there's 2 wild cards. It's going to be the Cardinals, because you don't know what's going to happen with Kyler Murray. Are they going to ship him off somewhere else? But then it's also the Rams. What happens with Matthew Stafford? Matthew Stafford, if he ends up retiring, now the Rams are in the market for a quarterback. And the question is, I know they have Stetson Bennett over there. If he's still on that goddamn team, I don't know. But it really just depends on how much would they like Fernando Mendoza. Are they willing to move up? Because the Rams have a history of moving all around the draft. You never know. Or they're cool, or they're cool with getting Ty Simpson. So those are the kind of you got the wild cards of the Arizona Cardinals. What do they do with Kyler Murray? Then you got the wild card of the Rams. Because as it stands right now, there's only 2 real quarterback needy teams, and it's us as well as the Jets. So chat, let me know if there's any other quarterback needy teams. Hit that hashtag Raiders if you can. That's going to be interesting. Coach pissed off. No, Lamar would make no sense. It would make no sense in the fact that we're big rebuild. Let's rebuild right. Let's have some fun and do it that way. Nico, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Nico, what's going on, man? I appreciate you rocking with me. D Money, no to Lamar Jackson. This will set the Raiders back with that contract. It is a big contract. Maybe you'd have to restructure it, and maybe he can agree to it. But Big John, maybe he will. You never know. But John, look, you got to do me a favor. If he does sign on Monday, if he signs on the dotted line, you got to come in and just give me one. Give me one. Go Kubiak in the chat. Just one. You got to give me one, big dog. Celebrate with us all. I know Lamar would be a 50 million cap hit. It would be wild. It would be wild. All right, I'm going to try to get down to some of it. Let's see. Saying what's up to I said what's up to House Junkies. What's going on, man? Tyler Algier. Hey, he's a guy that I would love to bring on. He's a great example. Tyler Algier, great example. I like Rico Dowdle. I heard that Rico Dowdle wants to go and be the guy, so maybe that's not it. But Tyler Algier would be a great option, because I also think that was one of my knocks on Genty as to whether or not Genty would be a true short yardage back. That was one of my biggest knocks on him going into the draft. And look, it's hit or miss with him. That's what he kind of showed a little bit. Could he develop? Of course he can. But I think we need a true short yardage back. Tyler Algier, I think, could come in and possibly be that. So, and he'd be a great breather back, man. I'd love it. I would love to see that go down. Judo Joe Montgomery would be perfect. He would, but I think that's another example of a running back that wants to go and start somewhere. I think that's part of the reason why he's going to just he's done with the Lions. I heard some reports and some rumors that he just wasn't happy with his usage with the Lions. So, guys, let me know if I'm wrong, but I think that's what I heard. John, man, I appreciate you throwing a super chat out there, man. Appreciate you. I'd love to be able to get Price in the later rounds. That's that other running back. I started doing my research. I think you might have mentioned that before. That's the other running back from Notre Dame. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's the running back from Notre Dame. Love to be able to get Price in later rounds. He's a home run hitter, both punt returner, kick returner, punt returner, and running back. I'm going to do more research on him. I think you were the one that maybe mentioned it, so I went back and I kind of looked. It's kind of wild that Notre Dame team, man, had two running backs on that squad that are, I think, considered one of the top running backs coming out in this draft. And so I'm definitely going to be doing more of a deep dive on that guy, man. But again, because we have Genty, and my thing is that if we do address the running back position in the draft, I'm waiting. I'm waiting until I'd say easily the fourth round before you even think about addressing it. The fourth round, again, I'd like to get somebody at a cheaper contract through free agency, but I'm not looking at the fourth round, not at the running back position until at the earliest the fourth round. Because again, I liked Kyle Monungai. I thought Kyle Monungai would have been a really good running back, but he's a combo running back. He's not the featured running back, but he can serve a purpose and he can serve a role in a backfield, and that's why I liked Kyle Monungai. So, you can get running backs kind of deeper in the draft, and so I'd probably start to focus around at the earliest the fourth round. All right, Money Chuck, let's see. By the time Genty's fifth-year option comes around, Colton Miller and maxxcrosby will be at the end of their contracts and gone. We'll be able to afford Genty for that reason. I mean, maybe, but you also, Colton Miller's gone, but then it's like, at what point are we about to invest into a big contract? Let's say we get a solid tackle this year, right? Even though Colton Miller's contract's going to be coming up, you still are going to be and I know Money Chuck, you are a big Fernando Mendoza fan. The thing is that no matter what other contracts look like, you might also Colton Miller, maxxcrosby, but you're going to be replacing them in hopes that you have some good players. And if we have any success, that means that you're going to have somebody kind of in line to replace Colton Miller. Maybe we already have the replacement for maxxcrosby, but either way, you're going to be staring down the barrel of a Fernando Mendoza, like record-breaking contract. If he's as good as everybody thinks he's going to be, then you might end up having to pay him the highest paid money of the highest paid player in the National Football League for that year. Again, it's just throwing out that scenario. So if that's the case, you're going to have to find ways to save salary cap. And in my opinion, and look, again, you guys could think differently depending on how you prioritize the running back position. Or again, Money Check, I know you like Genty. In my opinion, I'm not paying a running back. I'm sorry. I'm investing that money into the offensive line. I'm investing it elsewhere. Or depending on what prospects are coming up in the draft and maybe the third or fourth rounds, because that's where I like to target running backs, then I'm drafting a running back. I'm saving that salary cap space. And look, if Genty ends up being really as good as everybody, thinks he's going to be, and I think he's going to be good, don't get me wrong, but I also think the success of him is dependent on the offensive line. And so if he ends up being a really good running back, to me, that means that the offensive line is where it needs to be, and that offensive line is a solid offensive line. I will take that risk and go get somebody in the draft or somebody in free agency to run behind a good offensive line and continue to build the trenches. But again, I think it's just difference in strategy. It's difference in how people approach building a roster. Let's see. John Fallon, Fernando is the smartest and the most accurate quarterback we have seen in a while. He has Raider written all over him. He's definitely accurate, but one thing to really keep in mind, he's accurate in a lot of the ways that he's not going to be forced. He's accurate with a lot of throws that he's not going to be forced to make those type of throws in the NFL, right? RPOs, very accurate. Ball placement, great. Velocity on the football, great. But where Indiana ran a crap ton of RPOs, 60%, I believe the percentage is. It's around there, 60% RPO. A lot of it was back shoulder fades, which it's great that you're good at back shoulder fades. That could be a weapon in the NFL, but you're not going to live off of it. He was very accurate in a lot of throws that he's not going to have to make in the NFL. The NFL is going to be very different. You're going to have to be accurate working the middle of the field, seam routes, dig routes. You're going to have to be off-platform throws. Your body, when you see him accurate in RPOs, that means he's allowing to get his body in the perfect position because there's not pressure, right? He already sees the pre-snap read and he sees the defense move. His anticipation is great. I'm not knocking him on that. There's a lot to like about Fernando Mendoza, but because a lot of his throws, he allows his body to be in the right position because it's quick releases. It's easy to be accurate in that way. I'm not saying that it's not elite because it is, but the throws that he's making 60%, 70% of the time, he might be doing that 15% of the time in the National Football League. Now, it remains to be seen what type of offense Clint Kubiak's going to run, right? I don't know what he's going to do. If Clint Kubiak ends up drafting Fernando Mendoza, I hope he plays to his strengths and it works out perfectly. All right, so I can't come on here and assume that Clint Kubiak, if he drafts him, he's going to make him do all these things that he didn't do in college. I just know that what he did in college and what he was forced to do isn't what he's going to be doing in the NFL. Based on what NFL offenses do. And based on what, look, he's going to force Fernando Mendoza. If Kubiak does what he's doing in Seattle and he wants Fernando Mendoza to do the same thing, Fernando, he's going to have to learn how to work under center a lot more often than in Indiana. And that's a hard transition for some quarterbacks. It's different footwork. It's different. It's different positioning. It's different throwing positioning, like everything. You got to work your eyes differently. You know, one of the things with RPOs is you get to see it all the way through the mesh point, all the way through the handoff. Guess what? When you're under center and you're running a lot of play action, you got to turn your back. You got to turn your back to the defense, and you're going to have to process that without seeing it. In Indiana, he sees it constantly. So it's a massive transition. Again, I'm not saying he can't do it, but that's one of my biggest question marks is how is he going to be able to translate that to the NFL? How is he going to be able to adapt to? So again, it's just a question mark, but he is a very smart quarterback. Is he coachable? I think he's very coachable. I think he's a student of the game, and I think that he has a lot going for him. But I compare it to whether or not he's worth the number one overall draft pick, which in my opinion, I don't throw the name generational out very much, but you got to believe he's generational. I know a lot of people think he is, and that's fine. I just don't put that on him. And I'm weighing that comparison to whether or not I would take 3 first-round draft picks with the Jets. So let's see. D-Money. What's going on, man? Mendoza, Genty, Bowers, Mayer, Beck, Thornton, Tucker, free agent target, number 1 receiver, work on the offensive line. Hope, just win, baby. We got hope. We got hope. Money Chuck. Also, Genty's receiving back as well as a huge run threat. We will make him a priority in this 5th-year option. I know, you're throwing that out there. That's fine. Maybe I should screenshot some stuff because then, hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I'll come out here and put it, but we'll see. And I'm not saying – I think Genty, without question, could be a receiving back. You know, and I think we could use him more in that. That's why I don't necessarily think we need a true like third down back. I still think Genty can serve that purpose. I want a back that's going to be able to kind of give him that breather for 8 to 10 plays. All right, let's see. Okay. Want to make sure I say what's up to everybody. I see Lamar. What's going on, man? In the draft, Mendoza is the first pick, but in the second, I would like to add to the defense by drafting the best defensive player available since we don't have young talent on the defense. Fair enough. and we got a lot. We got a lot of positions to fill. Big John, I don't know if you're asking that to me. Do I live in Florida? No, I live in the Vegas area. I don't know if you're saying that to me. 7th, I see you up top. All right, Mendoza isn't going to be in the NFL what he is in college. Mendoza basically rode that game and defense into a Heisman. That is one thing that the more and more you kind of watch, like there are examples of Mendoza of him doing it, right? But it's the body of work, right? There are examples of him on the move making accurate passes, but there's also examples of him on the move and making very inaccurate passes, right? Go look at the two throws in the fourth quarter. The first quarter, that Miami championship game, the national championship game, Miami played so far off the receivers. He was basically run that RPO game to a T, right? Those corners were playing 10 yards off, and he was just basically hitting back shoulder throws, hitch routes, dumping it off to the running back. You know, it was pretty easy for him because of the way that defense was ran, and they were setting it up. That second half, go look at the one time he was moved off of his spot. They quarter rolled him to a left. The reason why you quarter roll him to the left is to improve the throwing angle on that deep out route to Surratt. Inaccurate. Go look at the other throw right before that touchdown run. Go look at the throw right before that touchdown run. It was basically a double slants to the back of the end zone. Inaccurate throw to the back of the end zone on that quick slant. Maybe it was a little bit of a post to the back of the end zone. Inaccurate. Again, there's examples where he is accurate, but there's also examples where he's not. In throws where it's more in throws that he is going to be asked to do in the NFL. And that's where I think he's 50-50 in a lot of ways. And so that's why I have question marks. So, and it's not to say that he can't learn and progress and ultimately end up being good in the NFL. It's just comparing that to the number 1 overall pick. Again, just my pick and my assessment of it. 7th, Genty is a high caliber guy, also solid on and off the field. Should keep him. He is. I have no rebuttal to that. He is a high character guy. He is also solid on and off the field. I think you had a comment before that. And I'm gonna go to the next topic. He's really 7th. You're saying he's really much more valuable in trade because of the high premium on quarterbacks and the fact that he's basically the only one available in the draft. He is without question the number 1. And I would argue he's number 1 in the one of the worst quarterback draft classes we've seen in a long time. And so he is the number 1, and you're right. I think that's why it holds just more value. If the Jets want to give us 3, man, I'm considering it. What up, Robert Pena? What's going on, man? We got Auntie Raider in the building. What's happening? Appreciate you rocking with me. Remember, do me a massive favor, guys. Hit that hashtag Raiders if you do have a response to what I'm talking about. And man, if you think I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. We'll rock out. Because again, just so you guys know, if I have my opinion, I will do everything I can and I will explain my opinion. I won't just say, it just doesn't feel right. That you'll rarely ever hear me say that, especially when it comes to a coach, when it comes to a player. I will do everything I can to explain it to you as to why I come from where I am. But I also know that I'm not. There's so many things that I don't have access to know whether or not I am fully right. Right? I don't know. It's like Mendoza, right? I could consider training back, but I have no clue what Kubiak's plan is for Mendoza. It could be the perfect plan, and Mendoza ends up being great. That could be the case. You know, D-Money, if you had to sign a backup for a cheap deal, who would you choose, Raheem Mostert or Dylan Labe? Oh, for a cheap deal? So I would backup. I would probably go between those two. I'm bringing in another running back, but I think what I would do is I'd probably keep Dylan Labe only because he could be the third down back. And you still kind of want to see what he could do a little bit. Raheem Mostert, I think, he's at the tail end of his career. He's at the end of his days. I'd still bring somebody else in, but I think I'd bring in Dylan Labe just as a backup third down back. Maybe he can help in special teams. And whenever you have somebody at the running back position that is kind of a third guy or maybe a fourth guy on the roster as it relates to the running back position, then you want them to be at least serviceable on special teams. And I think Dylan Labe would be serviceable on special teams, not Raheem Mostert. That's the only reason why I'd bring him on. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Seventh, Mendoza's coachability and physical assets are his biggest upside. Definitely not a polished product. Then again, a coachable, high character guy. We could do much worse. We could. I'm with you, and without question, I do think he's coachable. And that upside is very, very could be very attractive to any coach coming in the building. And despite tech, Big John, NFL very different from college football. So Mendoza will fail with the Raiders. Again, I'm not going to say he's going to fail, but yes, there is a massive, massive difference between how college football runs their offense versus how the NFL runs their offense. And I do think that Fernando Mendoza played in one of the most quarterback-friendly offenses I've seen in a very long time. There's moments where he was asked to do his thing, win the football game, right? Kind of convert on that fourth down. Obviously you saw the fourth down run, but there was a lot of times where the game wasn't won through him. Not a lot of times, the majority of the time, games were won through the ground game for Indiana. He had his moments at times, but it's about the body of work, right? Mendoza went into every single game going, yes, he had to make his kind of RPOs, his tempo throws, and those one read timing throws. Yeah, he definitely had to make those throws. But he knew that he also was going to hand off that ball 35 times a game, and that was most likely going to give them the lead, and he got to kind of play comfortably. Like, the amount of times that he had to play under pressure was so minimal. I mean, go back and look at that Miami game at the very end of the game. And we're going to go to the next topic. I apologize. I'm going to kind of go we're going to go to the next topic. I'm going to go back to the big screen. Sorry. Go back to the end of that Miami game. And this is kind of an example of how they didn't have to lean on Mendoza too much throughout the entire season. End of the game, fourth quarter, they're on the Miami 18-yard line, a minute 51 left in the game. It's 3rd and 6. Miami just kind of came off a couple scoring drives. They had some momentum. Miami was definitely doing their thing that second half of that football game. 3rd and 6, you can get that first down and you win the national championship. Or you settle for a field goal and you give Miami the ball back with a minute 30 plus left. I believe they have a timeout. You get a first down. It stops the clock. If you kick the field goal, you only go up by 7. Miami can get the ball with a minute 30 plus left, drive down, score a touchdown like they did a couple times that second half. Go for the 2-point conversion and win the national championship. But what did they do? They played it safe. They didn't put the ball in the Heisman Trophy winner's hands, in Fernando Mendoza's hands, and say, get us this first down, and let's win the national championship. They kicked the field goal to only go up by 7 and give Miami the ball back. That's just an example of what I saw throughout the entire season, where they just didn't put him in situations where he had to win the football game. The run was great. Don't get me wrong. The run was great. But that was just an example of Mendoza, go win us that football game, and they played it safe, and they didn't put it in his hands. So, again, I'm just showing examples, and it's not just one example. It's multiple examples throughout the entire season where there were situations, I forget what game it is, there was multiple times where it was like a big 3rd and 4, and what do? They run draw. So it's not even Fernando Mendoza converting through the air. It's him taking off and running. So there's just not a lot of examples of him being able to win the game through his ability to pass the ball. And that's where I just have the question marks. It was a very, very, very quarterback-friendly, quarterback-safe system that he basically was able to live in. All right, Chiyaya, what's going on, man? Mostert knows that system, though. It's going to be a different system. It's going to be a different system with Kubiak. So we'll just kind of see. how that works out. All right. But appreciate you rocking with me. Let's see. Chiaya, that's what's great about Kubiak's system, quarterback friendly, and they run the ball all the time. And I kind of said this a little bit earlier, is I'm not saying that it won't work out. Clint Kubiak could have just the perfect system for Fernando Mendoza, and if you draft some in, I hope it works out. I hope it works out 110%. But it doesn't go without just my question marks based on me watching every single game, every single snap, and I watched about 4 games of his Cal tape as well, just to kind of see where he came from. And so let's see. Just want to get a couple more before we go to the next topic. Chiaya Mendoza's biggest challenge will be how he plays under center. I just talked about that. Yeah, because you look at what Kubiak likes to do, and Kubiak likes to run under center. I believe he runs under center the most of all the systems in the offensive systems in the NFL. So that's going to be a massive transition for him, and it ain't easy. It is not easy at all. Chiaya, Penn State, he had to go win the game. Same with Iowa. I'm with you. I'm not saying there wasn't examples of it, but there are a lot more examples of him not having to be the guy. About that, them not relying on him to win the game. And so, that's why I'm just throwing that out there. Lamar Raiders aren't trading for a vet quarterback. We're drafting Mendoza and finally going at it right way. I don't think so either. I definitely think that there's a good chance they go through free agency. There's not some great names at all, but there's a good chance that they possibly get it through free agency. John found when Mendoza ran for the TD, it was supposed to be a pass play. No, so he went back and he talked about it. It was his option. It was either a run or pass. Now, look, he made the right call, right? He made the right call because you go back and you look at the way that the defense kind of sat back on the pass. It was a right call for him to take off and run. Okay, so he made the right read. So I'm not going to knock him on that. But you kind of go back to that third down play, that 3rd and 6, where he could have been the guy. But that offensive coordinator played it safe and said, let's run the ball. They didn't get anything, and they settled for the field goal. Hummer, VS, what's going on, man? I watched a lot of times. He had a shot to play hero ball, and he didn't. Good, in your opinion, it's a good thing. Otherwise, we're watching Geno or Russell. Yeah, it's just hard to determine just kind of where his mindset is. Can he just because he just wasn't forced to do a whole lot consistently. So we'll talk more about Fernando. Trust me, we will talk a lot more, and we're going to break down his game film as well. We're going to break it down, so definitely tap in with us on Wednesdays. We're probably not going to do it this week. Once Kubiak kind of inks it, Big John, once Kubiak inks it, I'm already starting to kind of cut up the film, and we're going to show a lot of Mendoza. Just kind of the great plays, the good plays, but also things that he struggles with, and not just one struggle or 2 plays of a struggle. It's going to be the body of work. And so, but man, Hummer VS, I appreciate you rocking with me. Linda, last one before I get to the next topic. You could bring in Cousins and cut Geno. You can. You could bring in Cousins. He's still under contract, so you'd have to trade for him some way, somehow. I don't know if I'd want to trade for Cousins. I know that his cap hit isn't a lot, but you're basically going to have to try to offload him after that, because I know his cap hit, I think the year after next is massive after this year. And so could he be a good teacher? Without question. Still don't know if I want to give away any draft capital. But at the same time, Cousins could be a very good example of someone that could teach the next guy. So I wouldn't be opposed to it, but just wouldn't want to give up draft capital. All right, let's see. Real quick, I'm going to go up to the big screen again. Man, I like to talk a lot, as you guys can see. But, guys, let me know what your thoughts are real quick on this guy. I'm going to share the screen really quick. I know a lot of you guys were talking about it, right? We talked about free agency. We're going to go through some of the free agent names here in just a second. But Linderbaum is the biggest guy that everybody's talking about. I know a lot of us want to just beef up that offensive line, which makes all the sense in the world. Guys, let me know what your thoughts are on Linderbaum. Do you want to bring in a guy like that? Let me know in the chat. I'm going to give you my take on not just Linderbaum, but just the center position, as well as just what I think a veteran center could bring to this offensive line. But let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on Linderbaum. Hit that hashtag Raiders if you can. What up, Foo Chris? What's going on, brother? Appreciate you popping up in here. And before I kind of give you my take, do me a massive favor, guys. Appreciate everybody that's rocking here on YouTube. I got 171 in the building. If you're over on Twitter, come over to YouTube. It's Real Talk Raider Nation. Hit that sub button, get included in the chat, let everybody know what you're talking about, give them their feedback as well. I like Linderbaum. I think he would be a massive addition to this offensive line. That means obviously you keep JPJ at the guard position. I think JPJ has what it takes to be a massive a guard in the NFL as well. I think that's where he would – I think he can find success. I have no reason to think he can't play center, but I also think he could be a very good guard as well. And so you keep JPJ at center. At guard. I think there's two very, very, very important positions on the offensive line. It's left tackle and it's the center position. The center, you are the anchor of that offensive line. You're the captain. You're the quarterback of that offensive line. And if you bring somebody in at the center of that offensive line and he automatically gets plugged in, and he could be just the captain and the leader of it. And if we'll go ahead and we draft Fernando Mendoza, he also has to be able to kind of shift the protections, right? He's also got to be able to identify where the defense is heavy, and he's got to dictate the offensive line. Well, guess what? The center also has to do it as well. The center is going to also have his own calls as he walks up the line of scrimmage, and to have a veteran in that position that understands it, that already has done it at a high level, I think is massive. And if you're going to overpay for any position, I'll overpay for the offensive line position. And so if Linderbaum is one of the guys that we want to go after, and he could be a veteran presence that could help not just the rest of the offensive line, help the guards that are around him, but also help with the protections as you walk up to the line of scrimmage, I'm without question all on board with bringing in Linderbaum. Now, I do want to do more research. I want to watch his game film a little bit more. He is one of the hot topics as it relates to the offensive line. I know that there's some other names out there. And so over the next probably, I want to say month or so, I'm going to start looking more at his game film just to kind of see what he truly brings to the table. I am a massive advocate. If you guys have rocked with me for a while, even dating back to the last couple off seasons, one thing I will do is I want to do my homework before I just kind of throw my opinion out there. But given the fact that he has done it at a high level, a lot of people are saying that the Ravens kind of did a misstep by not signing his fifth-year option. And because I understand the importance of the center position and what they provide to the offensive line, man, if he is as good as advertised, I will overpay for Tyler Linderbaum. Bring him in and be that anchor. And you can still rock with Colton Miller. The thing about Colton Miller is you definitely want him to continue to be healthy, make sure that he can be the anchor on the left side. And we just got to figure out the other pieces and really understand who do we have on this offensive line. And man, how badly did Brendan Carroll mess up this offensive line? Again, because it's one of my biggest question marks is who do we still have that could be an asset to this offensive line that was on this offensive line last year? And how much damage did Brendan Carroll do to this offensive line? So let's see what is going on. Let me just see. Again, do me a massive favor. Got almost 200 in the building. Hit that hashtag Raiders if you got a comment to Tyler Linderbaum. We're gonna take a look at a couple other free agents as well. We're gonna kind of go through the list. I'll put it up on the screen, but let's see. I want to make sure Big John Ravens should keep Linderbaum. I heard they made a massive misstep by not at least taking on his fifth-year contract. But I also know that the Ravens don't have a lot of salary cap space, and so they're trying to figure out how do we maneuver this salary cap space and keep some of the guys that they want to prioritize, right? Now, why you wouldn't prioritize a young center, I'm not sure, but again, that's on them. TN, if we're not able to sign Tyler Linderbaum, then go after Connor McGovern. I know Connor McGovern's name's out there. You got Caden May and Sean Ryan. We'll definitely take a look at some of those guys. I'll bring them up on the screen here in just a second. Foxdale, what's going on? Miller, Linderbaum, JPJ Glaze, and Caleb Rogers. Yeah, it's very interesting to see what Caleb Rogers we have. Again, it kind of goes back to how much did Brendan Carroll just absolutely hurt this offensive line based off of the progress we saw in 2024. Could have Caleb Rogers progressed more with a better offensive line coach? And so I think that's why it's so important that we do bring in some better, a better offensive line coach and kind of get some more development out of these guys. So, but Linderbaum being the anchor, man, that'd be pretty damn good. 7th, Lincoln Kennedy, who was a very intelligent pass raider offensive lineman, one of the best, is lobbying hard for Linderbaum. I think he could be great to bring him in. I agree. Again, I want to watch more film on him, but I do think that just all the intangibles, everything that he kind of brings to the table, I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to be a damn good name. But we might break his game film down before free agency hits. It reminds me of when we brought in Rodney Hudson, just younger, man. Rodney Hudson was a bad man. It was a bad man. It was unfortunate that I think we let him go to the Cardinals. I think that's where he went off to. He was a bad man. Hummer. Let's see. Linderbaum, Mark guard, right tackle. Yes. JPJ played center half a year and ranked 12th. Would have been higher, but a lot of penalties. Max chewed him straight. Then penalties stopped and stupid headbutting. Yeah, and I think the one part that is very concerning with JPJ is just the injury history, right? He dropped in the draft because of the injury history. Obviously, the concussion issues have kind of reared its ugly head. And so, I think JPJ would be better at guard because one of the worst things you want to do is have a center that you now have to replace. Again, the center is the anchor of the offensive line. He's the captain of the offensive line. And so it's a little bit easier. I'm not saying it is easy, but it's a little bit easier to replace a guard if they do get hurt. And so I think that's one thing we have to keep in the back of our mind, that JPJ's got just some nasty injury history right now. And how much can he be reliable as seasons go on? I want him to start. I want him to be the guy, but it's much easier to replace a guard than it is to replace a center, especially when he's an anchor. And that's why I think Linderbaum could play a pretty good role. All right, Coach, we're going to talk about that. In regards to free agency, we're going to talk about it. Let's see. What up, Chris? What's going on, brother? Guys, make sure you guys go over to Chris, Protect Show Podcast. I'm soaking up the Kubiak love, Chris. That's all I'm soaking up right now. All right, guys, make sure you guys go to Protect Show Podcast. Definitely go show some love to him. I go live with him and the Severe Raider. We're going to be going live tomorrow, and we go live on Sundays. Go hit him up, man. Hit that sub button for him, man. It's going to be fun. Right, and we're going to rock with us. We're going to be at the draft. We're going to go to the draft. We're going to have some fun. Definitely, if you guys are going to the draft, hit us up on our socials. We're going to put some names to faces. We're going to party, have a good time, man. Foxdale, Linderbaum is a go for sure. Marcos, what the hell did Brandon do? He did absolutely nothing. That's the problem. God damn it, Brendan, if that's what you're talking about. Brendan Carroll did absolutely nothing. What up, Jeff? What's going on, man? Everybody, go show some love to Jeff. Jeff, I think you might be going live here very shortly. I think I might only be on here just a little bit longer, but man, I think you're going live, man. Guys, make sure you guys go hit up Jeff's channel as well. Shout out to him. I think they're going live a little bit later. Hummers, Miller, always top 10, up to 5th. Jared pre-Carroll was 5th, 98.8% with no sacks. Hey, he had over 350 offensive passing snap with no sacks. I think only 8 or 9 pressures. It's pretty good. So Miller and Meredith, JPJ are solid. 2 rookies look good. We aren't as far off as we looked at from Carroll. Yeah, the only thing that I'll say about Jordan Meredith is, you guys know, I was a fan of Jordan Meredith 2 seasons ago. And I just want to see just kind of what Clint Kubiak is going to bring running game wise, right? Meredith, I think, could be very good in the zone scheme because he's not very big. I think in the power run scheme, he's a very technically sound offensive lineman. That's what he showed 2 years ago. I think moving him to center was the worst thing you could have done because the transition from guard to center is night and day. I dare anybody to go when Lincoln Kennedy is back on his podcast. Somebody go in there and ask Lincoln Kennedy, how hard is it to transition from guard to center? I guarantee you he will say that's probably one of the hardest things to do. It takes probably a whole season to kind of get adapted to it because it's just the footwork, the hand placement, everything, your pad level, everything is different from guard to center. And so depending on what Kubiak wants to bring run scheme wise, then I would love to see Meredith back on this squad. Even in a power run scheme, Jordan Meredith is very technical. And so I think he can find success. But at that point, maybe he's just a backup and a rotational piece, a solid rotational piece, if you go more power run scheme. Because I think Genty would thrive more in a power run scheme. And so maybe that's what we end up doing. But it remains to be seen. But me personally, yes, I'm a little biased. But pre-Pete Carroll, I'd love to see that Jordan Meredith come back. And if that happens, I'm buying a Jordan Meredith jersey. God damn it. And I don't buy active players' jerseys just for fun. Jeff, just stopping quick. Just support for the best guy from the Raider War Room trio. Man, I appreciate you, big dog. I appreciate you. All right, let's see. I want to make sure I kind of get to. All right, John, what's going on, man? Let's see. Spytek Brady at fault for not checking Brendan Carroll's credentials. Yeah. How, like, them. The one thing I will say is I think they had no choice, right? I said this in the past. I'm kind of a firm believer that at the end of the day, I think no one else wanted to come here and no one wanted Pete Carroll. So we were kind of a match made in heaven. We were the two ugly ones when the lights turn on after the club, right? So they had no choice, and they maybe knew that he was going to bring his sons, and it's what you had to do. I'll be one to admit I thought at least bringing Pete Carroll in the building, I thought, okay, because of his history, he was at least going to help us bring some normalcy, right? I knew he wasn't the long-term plan. I knew that we couldn't do a complete rebuild, but I just hoped that he could have just maybe brought some respect back into the front office, the franchise, and maybe correct our name just a little bit. But holy crap, was I wrong? I mean, I don't think I saw more dysfunction in any other regime than what we saw with Pete Carroll. And so I was wrong that for me to think that he would bring at least some respect to the organization. I didn't think it was going to equal to wins. I didn't, I believe someone asked me what I thought the win total was going to be. I thought at best maybe 6 wins. And so, at the end of the day, I thought that he'd bring at least some respect to the coaching staff and to this organization. And man, we were a dumpster fire. So that's where I was wrong. And so, yes, that's on Spytek, that's on Brady. But at the end of the day, man, I think we were our only options. People were basically not showing up for interviews or not accepting interviews towards the tail end, and nobody wanted to interview Pete Carroll. So we were a match made in heaven or a match made in hell, depending on how you look at it. So, but man, John, I appreciate you with the super chat, brother. Coach JPJ and Miller worrying me about injuries. It's a good concern, without question. What up, Sacktown? What's happening, brother? Appreciate you rocking with me. Money Chuck, you that hashtag Raiders, man. JPJ's concussions have all come from playing guard. Less risk of injuries playing center because he's not pulling and playing as reckless. I think it depends on what Clint Kubiak's scheme is going to be. I do think Clint Kubiak likes to pull his guards. Don't quote me. I got to do more research, but I do think he likes to pull his guards. And man, anytime JPJ has to get out there in open space, the amount of time we see him Superman over piles and Superman into people, it's just like, I love the aggressiveness. I love the mentality. I love that he's doing it, but at the end of the day, it's like, all right, pump the brakes, big dog. Like your concussions are becoming an issue, so let's tone it down a little bit. So we'll see how it plays out, and I'll do more research as to what Kubiak likes to do with his guards and whether or not it's just be better suited. But I do think JPJ would be better suited because I think he can play. I think he can play guard very well. I think he can play center, but because of the injury history, and he's susceptible to those concussions, I don't want to be able to or have to replace the center position because I think it's just that vital to the continuity of the center of the offensive line. And so, man, bringing somebody like Linderbaum, I do think would be a hell of a move, and keep JPJ at the guard position. All right. What up, Jen Singer? What's going on, man? What's happening? Hey, don't tell Big John that in the chat, Jen Slinger. But yes, Monday should be a big day for us. Monday should be a big day. Let's make sure we have some fun. All right, Jen Slinger, let's see. Have you discussed potential staff for Kubiak? Yeah, premature, sure, but a fan thought. Exercise, I got it all lined up. We'll talk about it here in just a second. Let's kind of get to that. I want to talk a little bit about some of the free agents that are out there. King Leo, what's going on, man? We don't keep coaches long enough to fire the right ones, and that's why no matter what is happening with Clint Kubiak, I don't care if we start out 1-16. I don't care if year 2 we only won 3 games, and year 3 we only won 5 games. I don't care. To correct the wrongs of this organization, we have to keep them a minimum 3 years. We have to, because if you don't, you will continue to show that we are a dysfunctional organization, that we are not going to allow a coach to set the foundation that they need to potentially turn things around. And so that's why, as much as, yes, Clint Kubiak's my number one, I could care less if it was Todd Monken. If we brought in Todd Monken, which, again, I wouldn't have been a fan of, then I would be absolutely saying we need to give him a minimum 3 years, because we have to correct our reputation of how we handle the head coaching position amongst the league. So got to correct it. Let's give Clint Kubiak a minimum of 3 years. I would prefer 4, but we'll see how it works out. So what up, Raider Paul? I don't know if I said what's up to you earlier, and I don't know if you just popped in, but appreciate you rocking with me, man. So, all right, cool. Let's do this. Let me switch it up. Let's look at just a couple free agents. Let me know who you guys would like, and then we'll talk a little bit about coaching staff, and then I'm going to get up out of here because I know a couple of the channels are starting their lives, and so I definitely want to kind of give them a little bit of respect. So let me jump over here. I'm going to try to blow it up a little bit. We're not going to look at defensive ends. Let's look at a little bit of the offensive line. Jen Singer, let me know who you want to take a look at, because I know you just picked up some of the free agent talk. Let's look at running backs first. Let's have some fun. Because no matter what, I think we need to bring in another running back. Genty's our number one. He's going to get the bulk of the carries, but I think that there needs to be another running back that can offload 6 to maybe 10 carries a game so that we can prolong Genty's career. And again, if running backs go down, history tells us running backs do go down on a fairly consistent basis. Unfortunately, we don't want to fall too far off with the performance. And so I'm going to kind of go through some of these running backs. Let me blow this up a little bit. Let me see if I can get – there we go. Maybe that works better for everybody. We're going to look at running backs first, guys. Let me know if there's a free agent running back that you would consider possibly bring in, because Raheem Mostert, gone. We just talked about Dylan Labe. I believe he's gone. I don't even think he's on a contract anymore. So we got to bring some guys in. So let's go through this list together, and let's see what everybody's thinking about. Sacktown. I was late to the show. What was the message? What was the message from the Ravens? I don't know. I didn't hear a message from the Ravens, to be honest with you, Big Dog. I'm not sure. Unless there was somebody in the chat talking about Ravens. I know someone someone said something about it was somebody said something about possibly Kyler Murray moving to the Jets, but I don't know if that was just an assumption or if that was an actual report. But we haven't heard nothing about Ravens just yet. All right, let's see. Let me see if anybody – Hummer, Genty plus Labe, need one more. All right, let's see. Tien. Tampa Bay's running back, Rashid White. All right, you like him. Let's see. Damn, Chubb still playing 7th? Yeah. So you kind of let's look at it. You got Najee Harris. Najee Harris, I don't need somebody that's coming off of an injury. I'm not a big fan of that. You got Austin Eckler. No, thank you. Just not the type of back that I would like to bring in here. Again, I wouldn't mind bringing in a true short yardage back. Again, one of my biggest knocks on Genty. I'd like to bring in a true short yardage back, because if Genty can't consistently be a good short yardage back, we need somebody that's going to come here and kind of take over that role. There's no knock on him. He's 5'8", 215 pounds. All right. Maybe we can bring somebody in to help him out with that. Javonte Williams. I was a big Javonte Williams coming out of, I believe it was North Carolina. Didn't do very good over with the Broncos, but then started to shine when it came to the Dallas Cowboys. My biggest thing is the Dallas Cowboys have one of the best offensive lines in the National Football League. And so no coincidence that a running back all of a sudden looks good behind a good offensive line. So at the end of the day, I'm not sure if Javonte Williams, because of the success that he had, there's some running backs on here, guys, that I don't think would even be an option, because I think they're going to want to go somewhere and be the guy. And so I think Javonte Williams is probably one of them. He's going to want to go over there and be a starter. I've heard Rico Dowdle wants to be a starter somewhere, but I'd love to see us bring in Rico Dowdle. I think he could be a damn good running back. I wanted him before we drafted Genty to bring in to be just a 1-2 punch with somebody. Let's see real quick before I keep going down there. 7th, I'd go ETN out of that list. Again, I think ETN, he's going to want to go somewhere and start. He's going to want to be the featured guy, so I don't think he would want to be a part of us. Hold on, guys, real quick. I'm gonna switch my light really quick. Give me 1 second. Okay. Dang, I'm back. All right. That might be a little bit better. Went out on me. Okay. I think ETN's going to want to go somewhere and start. So I just don't even think he would accept an offer from us. Let's see. I want to see if there's any more. John Fallon, you got Walker. Would be a nice choice. I think you were the one that talked about Walker early on. Again, another situation where I think he was going to want to go somewhere and be the featured guy. So not sure if he'd be want to come over here. Chiaya, man. Okay, you got Breece Hall. We can talk Breece Hall for a second. Rico Dowdle is a guy I'd love to, if he's willing to take on a backup role, man, I'd bring Rico Dowdle in here in a heartbeat. Nick Chubb's very interesting. Is he willing to take a backup role like he kind of did over in Houston? I wouldn't mind it. Yes, he's got the injury history, but he's 1 year kind of removed from that, which is good. Can he come over here and kind of take on 8 carries, maybe 10 carries tops? I consider it, because I think it would be a team-friendly deal. Let's go down to Breece Hall. Guys, let me know your thoughts on Breece Hall, man. I think Breece Hall was a stud running back. Obviously, he's kind of got a little bit of injury history himself. But, man, could he want to come over, go somewhere and potentially have a bigger role? Maybe not the featured guy, but a bigger role. And I don't know how much he would possibly demand. I don't think he had the best year over with the Jets. And so could you bring him in for a cheap contract? Maybe. If he's willing to take a cheap, inexpensive contract, then I'd consider it, because I do think, because running backs tend to get hurt and I don't want to fall off too much, I'd consider paying a decent contract, not a lot, not a big contract, but a decent contract for a quality running back. That could be a really good 1-2 punch with Genty. Alfredo, do the Jags move on from ETN? I don't think so. I only say that because they got a lot of rookies over there that they're paying, right? You got I'm blanking on his name, the receiver over there, not the Heisman Trophy winning guy. Again, damn, I'm just blanking on all those guys. But they have a receiver core that they're still on rookie contracts, so that's a good situation. They already got Trevor Lawrence kind of locked up a little bit. They got they got our guy, Jacoby Myers, kind of on a cheaper contract. So maybe they have a little bit of salary cap space to kind of bring him back. But based on what ETN did last season, he might want to go somewhere and be the guy. So he's going to want to possibly go and maybe get a decent contract, and it'd be curious to see what the Jags want to do. So now, just for me personally, again, I touched on it before, because he wants to be the guy. We already have a guy in Genty. I'm not necessarily going to pay him. D-Money. Amir Abdullah has Kubiak ties there. Would you bring him in? I don't know. Is Amir Abdullah on this list? I'm sure there he is. All right. Amir Abdullah. Would I bring in Amir Abdullah? I don't think so. As much as I wanted Amir Abdullah to stay on this team last year, I think he's kind of past his time in a sense that I would much rather try to draft somebody in like the 5th round, kind of take a flyer, somebody that I think can develop into a decent running back. And so because he's kind of older in age, I'd much rather take a flyer in the draft and kind of develop a younger guy in that way. So, but I'm a fan of Amir Abdullah. But man, just 1 year older with him. What's his age? Amir Abdullah, he's 32, going to be 33 years old. I think I want to just kind of take a swing on a guy in the draft and kind of find somebody young. Let's see. All right. Raider Zach, what's going on, man? You're saying Tyler Algier. That's a guy, man. If he's willing to take that role, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Tyler Algier, I would want to bring him over. Why the hell not? Give him those 8 to 10 carries, offload Genty, man. That was a damn good 1-2 punch with Bijan Robinson. If we can kind of have a situation like that and prolong Genty's career a little bit, get the best we can out of him as a rookie through that contract, that's a guy I wouldn't mind bringing on over. 7, Dobbins wouldn't be bad. Wouldn't be bad. I just think, man, it's the injury history. You know, he got hurt again. He's been hurt in the past. That's kind of where it just kind of scares me. But, you know, if you think he's going to be healthy, then maybe you can bring him in. Frater, pretty good effort. Free agents to need a RB1. Pretty good free agents to need RB1. Let's see. All right, Ginsinger. Oh shit, Fu Chris, watch Chargers pick up ETN. maybe. Let's see. All right, Ginsinger. I like a quality DB in free agency. As of now, I'd take Jamel Dean over Woolen. Your thoughts? I like Jamel Dean. I like Woolen as well. I'm not gonna lie. I think Reek Woolen would be a very interesting prospect to come on over here. And if we do bring him on over, obviously you got Clint Kubiak that knows him extremely well, being over there with Seattle. I got to do, I think, a little more research on Jamal Dean, to be honest, to be able to make that comparison. I like Reek Woolen though, to potentially come on over here and kind of help out this defensive back room. But I'll do more research on Jamal Dean, man, and I'll give you some feedback on that. So, all right, let's see. What up? Where's the flag? What's going on, man? You're saying J.K. Dobbins as a number 2 would be crazy. It wouldn't happen, though. Yeah, let's hope he stays healthy. Right away, draft Black from Indiana at running back. That is a guy that I do like, because the more and more I kind of watch those Indiana games, and I've watched Fernando Mendoza, the more and more I was like, damn. Now I think he's drafted higher than I'd want to pick, but because at this point, I definitely would want to go after a running back. If we don't get one in free agency, probably kind of around that 4th round, maybe 5th round is where I'd probably want to target somebody to bring in, again, be that combo with Genty and offload a little bit. Let's see. All right, Nees, what's going on, man? You're saying you have no clue based on last year. Ignorant takes, big boss. Give Genty a chance to be great under a better potential coaching staff. Also, stop the fantasy talk land about not drafting Mendoza. Okay. Okay, you do you. All right, D Money. O-line is not really my bread and butter, but if you had to rebuild the O-line, how would you do it? Would you target? Who would you target at free agency? I got to do more homework, but I would not be mad at Linderbaum as it stands right now. I know he's the hot name. So Linderbaum, without question, to anchor that center position would be great. I do. And then I'd like to look at the right tackle position probably in the draft. Again, I hate it because I don't know how badly Brendan Carroll messed up this offensive line. Could we get the tail end of what DJ Glaze was in 2024? Maybe. And if that's the case, then he could be a serviceable right tackle and continue to grow if we get a good offensive line coach in here. But I'd like to possibly look at the draft and get a right tackle. I think there are some right tackles in this draft that even in the 2nd round that you could potentially address that position group. But then you also got to just take a look at the guards. in the second round or possibly free agency. And so we got a long time. I want to wait till we ink up Clint Kubiak once it's 110% confirmed, so that now we can kind of take a look at what Clint Kubiak wants to do, and then just see kind of how we want to address the offensive line. But I do think I would 100%, if we made one big splash on the offensive line to start in free agency, I do think it would be the center, and Linderbaum, I think, would be a great prospect to do that with. Big John, bring back, man. All right, John, you're wild. You are wild, big dog. Okay. All right, so we kind of looked at the only other running backs that, in my opinion, you could maybe take a swing on, and I'll kind of work my way down. You got Kenneth Gainwell. He's coming over from Pittsburgh. You can maybe take a little bit of a swing on that, but he's not that change of pace guy. He's a little too similar to what Genty can do in like the passing game. And so Kenneth Gainwell's a guy that you might want to maybe take a look at, but wouldn't be my first choice at all. Kareem Hunt would be very interesting. Again, just change the pace. Let me kind of go down. Brian Robinson from San Francisco. Brian Robinson, another guy that if you want to bring in a cheap option, a number 2, he's a guy that you could possibly bring in. He's not a short yardage back, so he doesn't give you that feature off of Genty. But, you know, he's a guy that if you go back and look at what he did with the 49ers, you give him 8 carries, maybe 9 carries a game, he's serviceable enough, and I think he would be basically on the cheap. So that's another guy that I think we can consider possibly bringing in to be a change of pace guy, or at least just offload Genty. So let's see. Linda, maybe the problem was our O-line. Maybe the problem on O-line was coaching, not players. I do think it was. I do think it was coaching. That was my biggest issue going into last season. So, Laker Nation, is the rumor that Arch Manning is considering changing his mind to declare to the 2026 NFL draft? I don't think he can right now. I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the time to declare has passed. I think. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong. But if it hasn't, that would be wild if he did declare. But I think the time might have passed. So yeah, guys, let me know if I'm wrong. But man, Laker Nation, appreciate you popping up in here. All right, we looked at running backs real quick. Let's take a look at wide receivers. We still need a wide receiver 1. All right, we're gonna look at the receivers really quick. Let me know. I know a lot of people kind of already threw Alec Pierce's name out there. Let me know if there's something that pops up. Okay. Kane, you said it passed. Appreciate you. All right. I appreciate it. It was on the 15th. Got it. That's what I thought. I thought Fernando Mendoza I think he declared on that day, or something like that, or on that day or around it. So, Jeff, what's going on, man? You said pertaining to the draft after the first pick, I hope we don't start doing what we always do and start trading down picks. Yeah, picks after pick when there's players of need that are on the board. I'm with you. I'm with you. You know, you have to navigate the draft in a certain way. You have to be able to understand your draft board properly. Hopefully, you're assessing other teams' draft boards as well, and you have to also just identify the value of the players that are left on the board. And I hope they play it right. I love the way that Spytek navigated the draft last year, how he moved around stuff. But even though I loved it, I think he passed up on guys that I wanted that ended up playing very well as rookies on other teams. And so, yes, I'm with you. I hope we don't trade back too much, but at the same time, I hope he navigates it well, and I hope he manages the draft properly. So we'll see how that works out. All right, so let me kind of pull this one down. Guys, let me know. Receivers, we got Mike Evans. Let me know if there's a name that pops up. We got Mike Evans at the top, obviously. Man, coming off of a nasty injury, but he's a damn good veteran. Would you consider bringing in Mike Evans? I'm not sure. They got his market value at $13 million because he's just older, up there in age. I just don't know if his market value would be like that. But let's say the salary cap is going up. We have a lot of salary cap. Would you try to splash and would you bring him in on maybe like a 1 or 2 year contract at like $8 million a year? You know, let me know if you would consider that, given the fact that it'd be good to have a veteran receiver. I'm not saying I would do it. I don't think I would, but let me know in the chat if you would. Hit that hashtag Raiders. You got Christian Kirk, Debo Samuel, Tutu Atwell. Tutu Atwell for me, again, not as a number one, but Tutu Atwell would be a very interesting name as kind of a backup, a cheap option. He was the guy that could stretch the field for the Rams this past year, and you bring somebody in to kind of help put some competition with Trey Tucker, even though Trey Tucker is our gadget guy. He's our stretch the field guy. But if you want somebody else that you potentially can bring in to kind of bring that competition, it's a name to maybe look out for. As I'm kind of going down, Juwan Jennings. Guys, a lot of guys have kind of talked about Juwan Jennings with the 49ers. I think he's got a little bit of injury history as well, but he's not a true number one. I don't think Jennings is a true number one. I think he's a number two, but it's just a name thrown out there. Would you consider bringing him, that guy in? Guys, I'm going to kind of keep scrolling down. Let me know if there's a name that pops out. Right, Pete, kind of going back to the running backs, any of the three would be a plus. Rico Dowdle, Hall, Walker, Hall, all would fit Kubiak's system. What is that? Hefe dog. Hefe dog. That's what I think it is. I apologize if I'm butchering it. Kubiak, bringing Shaheed. All right, so we're going to kind of get down there. All right, you want to bring in Shaheed. John Fallon, I really like Pierce. Think he fits Kubiak's system perfectly. Great part about that is, Alec Pierce, he's going to be able to stretch the field, right? I think he automatically replaces what Deontay Thornton potentially would be, and I think Deontay Thornton has a lot of growth, so he definitely would be that field stretcher. So that's an interesting name. D-Money, I really want the Raiders to draft Jacob Rodriguez, like linebacker, Texas Tech. Jacob Rodriguez is my favorite linebacker so far. I have some research to do on some of the others, but based on what I've seen so far, Jacob Rodriguez, he's a bad man. I think he would be a hell of an addition, but unfortunately, I think he's going in the first round. And even if we trade back, obviously, if we take Fernando Mendoza, I think we won't even have a shot at him, unfortunately. But I do think he goes in the first round. God, Big John, I'm trying to give you a little bit of a respect and love for rocking up in here, so I'll bring up your comment. But man, you are all about the non Kubiak business. All right, here we go. John Fallon, yes, he's still up here, but yes, Adam Thielen retired. You are correct. Mike Hawley, no, Mike Evans, injury history starting to pile up. Yeah, and you combine that with the age, it's just never a good combination. So 7th, give Cedric Jackson a chance. He showed he could play this past year. That would open up a Thornton and Tucker, then draft a solid prospect or two. I'm not big on the price tag for these free agents. Let me bring this one back down. I was a fan of Cedric Jackson, right? I wanted to see kind of what he could do, especially those last 3 or 4 games. I was surprised that he didn't get just more playing time or more opportunity. It would be very interesting to see what he could do with Kubiak. I think we reserved rights to a contract with him, and so there's a good chance, yes, he is going to remain on this roster for next year, which is great. I think it's a great thing to kind of have him in this receiver room, but obviously not as a number one, right? I think we still need a true number one, but to just have Cedric Jackson under a good offensive mind and someone that I think can scheme up some things for him, I'm really curious to see what he could do. So I liked him last year. I still think we need a true number one or somebody that can kind of come in and set the tone with that receiver room. But, man, Cedric Jackson's going to be very interesting. Ready to Pete. Wandale Robinson is smaller, but a great receiver. Okay, Wandale Robinson. Was he up here? Let's see. There he is. Yeah, hey, he's available. Wandale Robinson, man. Again, a great number 2. And we need all the help we can get. By offloading Jacoby Myers, which, again, I'm not a big fan of, we're going to need all the help we can get in the receiver room. Now, I'd like to see us draft a receiver as well. That would be really I think that would be hell of a way to kind of grow a receiver with a Mendoza if that's the guy we take, right? And so I think it would be good to address the receiver room fairly early in the draft, maybe a second round, possibly a third. If you don't get him a receiver in the 1st or 2nd, again, depending on what you do with Mendoza. But Unfortunately, I think Wandell Robinson, he's number 2. And I definitely want to get somebody that could be potentially slotted as a number 1. I like Wandell Robinson. I hate the fact that I'm not a fan of Jack Besh. I just don't think Jack Besh is going to turn into is going to be worth a second round prospect. Just watching him, I could be wrong. Hopefully, Clint Kubiak can dial up some stuff for him, but I just wasn't a fan of the pick. I'm not sure if he's going to live up to a second round draft prospect, but you got to work him in as like a number 2. And Wandell Robinson's going to possibly push him out. And I'd hate to see us waste a second round draft pick like that. Let's really see what we got out of him. But I like Wandell Robinson. I do. John, no on the Bucks receiver. Yeah, Thielen retired. Where's the flag? Shaheed for sure. Mike, us getting Rashid is going to get so much steam. It is. It's going to get so much steam, obviously, just because of the connection. And Rashid Shaheed went from the Saints, followed him to Seattle, and now we might find him over here. One thing that I'll say, and I'll kind of talk to the Rashid Shaheed talk is, he's more of a gadget guy. And so when he comes over here, I don't even think he's much of a number 2 receiver. And we kind of got Trey Tucker as a gadget guy. Maybe you move on from Trey Tucker. Maybe you try to trade him away. Obviously, Rashid Shaheed would come in and he would know Clint Kubiak's system. But it'd be very interesting to see if Kubiak tries to use Rashid Shaheed and Trey Tucker on the field at the same time. Because Shaheed, again, is just a gadget guy. He is going to either catch you some wide receiver screens, or he's going to just hit you deep, and he's obviously going to be good in the return game. And so I'd be really curious just kind of how we use him in this offense, given the fact that we already have Trey Tucker. I think it makes all the sense in the world for him to come over here, but how are we necessarily going to use him? That would be my biggest question. 7th, Hopkins, maybe. I'm going to be the clearance rack guy when it comes to this year's group of free agent receivers. Yeah, I think I'm cool with DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not sure if I'd want him over, but yeah, if it's like a cheap deal and he's a rookie or a veteran presence, but at that point, if we went somebody like that, I think Alec Pierce would be better in my opinion. So we'll see. But Hopkins is definitely that veteran. Yeah, we're kind of at this point, we're kind of getting down at the bottom. You got Alec Pierce down here, but guys, real quick, let me know your thoughts on George Pickens. Let me know your thoughts. The name is going to get thrown out there. What's your thoughts on George Pickens? I'll give you my quick take. Do me a favor, hit that hashtag Raiders. We need to rebuild the right way. I don't need to bring in somebody that potentially could be an attitude problem. I don't want that, especially if we do get Fernando Mendoza. I don't need that type of headache, that potential headache with a rookie quarterback. Bring in somebody that has a good head on their shoulders. That's why, if you did bring in Alec Pierce, I'd be okay with it. But you bring in a George Pickens that is really that has potential to be a headache. I'm not a big fan of it. We don't know what, and we're going to be in a massive rebuild. So he's going to come in, and there's a good chance that we may win 3 or 4 games. Is he going to have the mental strength to be able to handle something like that? When he was with Pittsburgh, he didn't show it. And so I'm good. I want nothing to do with George Pickens. Yes, he's a great talent. He's a very good receiver, but I don't think he's a receiver that's willing to come in and handle a rebuild mentally. So hit that hashtag Raiders. Let me know your thoughts. Guys, if you guys are over on Twitter, come over to YouTube. Hit that. It's Real Talk Raider Nation. Get included in the chat. I appreciate everybody. All right. I know. Where's the flag? Well, I'm with you. I don't like timing people out too much, but we'll see how it works out. Let's see. Let's see what everybody's saying a little bit. Mike Colley, please hide Hunter Renfro's name on the FA list. The nation loves bringing back the X's. I know. Hunter Renfro's still on here. I think he was on a little bit higher up. Chiyaya, Jacoby, would have been nice in Kubiak's system. It's a shame. He would have been. He would have been without question. D-Money, draft sleeper receiver, Alabama, Jermaine Bernard, Tennessee's Chris Brezel the second, and Georgia State's Ted Hurst. Other overlooked, North Dakota State's Bryce Lance and Mississippi State's Brendan Thompson. All right, man. You know what? Here, look, let's do this. D-Money, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to screenshot that real quick. Okay. So I did. I screenshotted it. Maybe I'll look up those names as well. Sacktown, man, you like Malachi Fields. I know you're a Notre Dame guy. You are a Notre Dame guy. I love it. I love it. Where's the flag with that hashtag Raiders? What receivers do you see going in the first? Tyson and Cardinal Tate. There's a shot of number one type guys. Drop to the second round. Surratt, maybe. The more and more I watch Cardinal Tate, I like Cardinal Tate. I like him a lot. I'm not going to lie. 6'3", tall, lengthy receiver. I mean, he could take the top off the defense. I think he showed more versatility as being a potential possession guy as well. And so I think he just brought more to the table as a full, complete receiver. I will say, if you can remove Jordan Tyson's injury history, and I think he had some drop issues this year. If you could take away his injury history, which you can't, and that's why I think Jordan Tyson, man, it's just a massive risk. I think that kid could be one of the best receivers in the National Football League. He is a damn good receiver. He's a nasty route runner. But again, you got some of the drop issues that he had this year, and you just cannot, like, his injury history is deep. Cardinal Tate is a guy that I think could be a top receiver in the National Football League. I mean, and so there's a lot to like there. So I think both those guys definitely go number one. Number one in the first round, and they go fairly early. Cardinal Tate, I think, could be easily like a top 5 guy. And I think Jordan Tyson's going to fall a little bit, again, because of his injury history, and I think he had some drop issues. But his route running is absolutely nasty. So, but we'll do some film on Cardinal Tate, because we're going to do some film on the top at least 5 guys, the projected top 5 guys, because you just don't know what we're going to do. Again, I know a lot of people want Fernando Mendoza, but we're just going to do our homework. All right, Mike, you know how it is at a 5 once a name is tied to us. Yep, and it hits the internet, then everybody wants that same guy. I'm 100% with you. Foxdale, at a 5. It was my first time on your channel. Good show. You need a moderator to get the trolls out. I know. I'm sorry. I'm just not very technical with this stuff. I'm going to get a moderator. I promise. If it gets that bad, Big John, man, I might have to at least just time you out. I'm not going to ban you. I won't do that. I don't do that unless, shit gets real disrespectful. But Big Dog, I might have to time you out a little bit if you're annoying everybody. Right away, Thornton will definitely be better too. We'll see. With good coaching can bring a lot out of it. Again, I coached this game for 23 years and played it for 13, so I know what coaching can do. So we'll see if that works. How about a trade for DJ Moore? I don't want to trade for a receiver. I want to build. I want to build the right way. If we get a receiver, let's get in the draft, get through free agency. But I just don't see a world where the Bears get off of DJ Moore. But I'm not a big fan of trading for a receiver. All right, Kane, what's going on, man? If you can get open, you're on the field. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Seagabe, can Rashid run routes, or does he only run fast and straight line? We already have Thornton for that. We only need we only need one trick pony. I believe, from what I've seen, again, Chad, if you've done more research on Rashid Shaheed, correct me if I'm wrong, but based on kind of what I saw him with the Saints and how they're kind of using him this year, and what you see with him this year in Seattle is kind of what you're probably going to get, because he knows Clint Kubiak's system. And even though they traded for him or they brought him over, I think Clint Kubiak's going to use him the same way. So I think he's more of a screen guy, more of a deep threat guy. So I think he's more of that kind of one-trick pony, but he also can be a return guy. So he's not going to be a full route tree guy. I just don't think so. Again, chat, let me know if I'm wrong, if you've seen him do more on a consistent basis. But I do think he's I think he's more just a deep route screen game type of guy. So Yeah, appreciate you, big dog. Appreciate you coming up in here. Let's see. Real quick, before we kind of get on to the next ones, where's the flag? I'm down with George, but he's staying in Dallas. Maybe. John Fallon, no, hell no, he's a diva. Red Pete, Pickens plus Vegas is trouble. Yeah, that's true. That's definitely one thing. That's one thing you got to do is keep in mind we are in the Vegas area. Jason, no on Pickens. We have tried the Pittsburgh receivers too many times. I know. Bad Raiders PTSD. But there's so many reasons why I wouldn't like Pickens. So yeah, Pickens worked in Dallas because Dak is the vet. Yes, and as long as he's getting the ball, and as long as they are winning, I think he's fine, right? But the moment you come over and you try to rebuild, I think we might have found ourselves a little bit of a problem. Tien, there's no receiver one other than George Pickens in this receiver class. Yeah, you can definitely consider George Pickens as a number one. One guy that I liked, but he's on the older end, Tim Patrick. Sorry, I don't know if it's Tim Patrick. I liked him over with the Broncos, not as a number one, but as just another veteran option to kind of come help this young receiver group. If you can get him on a cheap, I like Tim Patrick. That might be a guy that we can consider. Veteran presence on the cheap, maybe. Mike Hawley. Pickens is a dog. Love the guy, but wasn't he late to practice or getting back to his room when they came to Vegas to play us? I don't know. Maybe. Imagine how that'd be if he was in Vegas full time. Maybe. And man, I don't remember hearing that, but if that is true, yeah, that could be a damn good problem or a problem we don't need to have. Linda, Pickens cost too much. Big mouth loser. Man. Don, Riv, Brandon Ayuk. I think it kind of goes back to I'm not the biggest fan of Brandon Ayuk. And so I wouldn't want to bring him over here. The reason being is I don't know how truly complete of a receiver that he is. Obviously, with the injury that happened with him, the headache that he kind of brought to the San Francisco 49ers. I got to kind of do more research on him just to kind of remind me exactly kind of the type of receiver he is. It's been a while since I've watched him. But I feel like he's another head case. Unfortunately, I feel like he's another head case. And again, with a rookie quarterback, potentially in Fernando Mendoza, I just don't want to bring that into the locker room. Guys, let me know what your thoughts on Brandon Ayuk. Hit that hashtag Raiders. Marcos, like Shante, I'm like top. Let's see. All right, here we go. We're going to go to a couple more position groups, then we're going to get the hell out of here. Jen Slinger, man, if you're still in here, we're going to do some more head coaching talk here in just a little bit. Probably not on this live, maybe on the next one. Because, man, I try to give as much feedback to everybody that rocks with me, man. So I appreciate everybody. Do me a favor, double tap that screen, hit that sub button if you guys want to get included in the chat. If you're over on Twitter, come over to YouTube. It's Real Talk Raider Nation. Fox got too much money. He just wants to win now. Let Mendoza grow with the young receiver. I like that. I'm with that. EC, what up, man? Don't roll out a trade for Brandon Ayuk. He won't be back to the 49ers, and he already knows the system. Yeah, if it's a trade, I definitely don't want to trade for him. But again, I'm rough. I'm rough with if he's potentially a head case. So let's see. Okay. All right. Here's what we're gonna do, man. I appreciate everybody rocking. Appreciate everybody jumping up in here. Hummer, I think, wait on receiver one, fix the O-line, help running back with the short yardage powerhouse, then everything else on defense. I like Mendoza, but he won't be ready with year one anyways. He won't be. And James, man, I appreciate you throwing that super chat out there, big dog. Need to build the O-line and draft through and D-line through the draft and free agency. I'm not going to disagree. I have been saying build the O-line for the last 2 seasons, and hopefully they do it now. 2 years ago, again, it was Talisi Fuaga. Last year, Kelvin Banks. I wanted Kevin Dotson 2 years ago at the guard position. Last year, it was Mekhi Becton or Trey Smith, but Kansas City franchise tagged him. Man, I wanted to do nothing but build the offensive line for so damn long, and it just hasn't happened. So let's hope. Let's hope we do it this year. Let's hope. You know what I'm saying? So appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you with the super chat. I'm going to go back up to the big screen. You know what? Hey, Jennings Dunker, where's the flag? I don't know if you were with me on the last live, but it was a name that I threw out there. Jennings Dunker's a guy that I'm definitely keeping my eye on. I think he showed out a little bit in that Senior Bowl. And then there is, I'm blanking on his name, but the guy from Georgia, I believe he's the right tackle for Georgia. If we don't get somebody kind of really early on, again, with a potential trade back situation where you get the top right tackle or left tackle in the draft, if you got to wait for maybe the second round, if Jenny's Dunker, if he falls the second round, or again, I got to do just a little more research, but the guy from Georgia, he's definitely starting to catch my eye. If he's available, man, I might be taking a swing on him. And at the end of the day, we'll be breaking down his game film as well. Where's the flag? Get a 5-flag check on my Iowa boys. I know. Hey, I saw some highlights on him, and then I went to go back and watch just one full game of Iowa just to kind of watch him, man. He looks like an absolute monster. I'm not gonna lie. So there you go, Big John. The Raiders need to build the defense, not offense. I feel you, Big John. Appreciate you. Laker Nation, we need a receiver with speed like a Jameson Williams. We do. We need someone that can take the top off the defense. We'll see what Kubiak can do with Trey Tucker. He's got the speed, but we'll see what he could do with them. Leroy, what's going on, man? Appreciate you rocking with me. TN, who should we pick at 36? Linebacker, CJ Allen, D tackle, Lee Hunter, or Caden McDonald? If we go quarterback, right, with Fernando Mendoza number one, it's really hard to say because the biggest thing is we have to see how we address the free agency. Because we might be able to fill some needs in free agency, and at the end of the day, you don't have to address it in the second round. But I'd like to look at D tackle in the second round. I'd like to look at possible linebacker in the second round. Those are probably the two position groups that I'd probably look at. Again, if we get Fernando Mendoza, then second round, without question, we're going to be looking at that offensive line depending on what we do with free agency. And so free agency is going to tell a lot. It's going to tell a lot, and that's what I'm excited for. That's why for the next couple lives, we're going to definitely tap into what the free agents look like, and we're going to be breaking down game film of some of the free agents that can meet what match up with what Kubiak likes to do, and depending on who the defensive coordinator is, then we're going to start identifying some of the free agents that we could possibly bring in. So, but I still have some time to do my research on the prospects. And I will, without question. Where's the flag? The whole offensive line will be NFL guys. Kurt Ferentz, I think I'm pronouncing it right, outdid himself this year. All right, where's the flag for you? I will look at the entire Iowa offensive line. I will. John Fallon, hey, 85, what defensive tackle do you think we can get at 36? I don't know how far he's going to drop. I think he's projected kind of towards the tail end of the first round, but if he drops even farther, it's my guy from Caleb from Florida. He's a big D tackle. I think they're projecting him in the first round. If he, for some reason, kind of drops a little bit, again, a lot of guys will kind of sneak in. I think it's kind of a loaded crowd on the front end with the D tackle class. And so, yeah, man, my guy Caleb from Florida, if he could drop, that's a guy that I'll be definitely looking at. So, but I'll be doing more research on the D tackle class. Linda, what about trading back into the first round? I'm not a big fan. If we trade into the back end of the first round, it's got to be someone that is going to be an absolute just kind of game changer. You do trade it back in, so you can kind of get that fifth-year option, which is great, but I think you got to just grab that game changer if they're there, right? If it's an offensive tackle, so if we go Fernando Mendoza number one, if for some reason these offensive tackles are dropping, and you can trade back in to get and solidify an offensive tackle and get them on a fifth-year option, like a rookie contract with a fifth-year option, I think, in my opinion, that's where you would possibly consider trading back up. Because if you can get a solid offensive tackle on a rookie contract with a fifth year, I think you do it in a heartbeat. That would probably be the only way that I'd trade up. Because even like if a Jacob Rodriguez, I really like Jacob Rodriguez, and if he's kind of sitting around that like 30, 31 mark, and you want to trade back up, I'd consider it, but still, I don't know if I'd swing it for a linebacker. Just, in my opinion, I don't know if the value is there. I'd consider it. I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, but it'd probably be more or less for an offensive tackle. I'd be willing to trade up if we went Mendoza so that we could just solidify and absolutely ramp up this offensive line. Let me know. Let me know if it makes sense. Let me know if it makes sense. So, John Fallon, are there any D tackles in this free agency class? You know what? All right. Let's see this. John, for you, let's look really quick at the last thing we're going to do, and then we'll get out of here. Last thing. Interior defensive lineman. Let me share it. Last one, then we're going to get out of here. All right. Interior defensive lineman. John, this is for you. Here we go. Yeah, where's the flag? Yeah, Caden Banks, he takes a lot of plays off, but put him next to Max. And so not just plays off. I had concerns with him playing it at Florida, right? His pad level gets a little bit too high too often. He's a freak athlete. But East Coast Gridiron, he was over at the Senior Bowl. He was saying that he was starting to correct that, which is good. His pad level, because I think he gets a little bit lazy with it, but also I think because he's so big and he's strong that he's able to kind of just manhandle people at the point of attack, and he's able to get high with his shoulder pads and then just kind of shed guys off pretty easily. When you get in that habit, it's not good, because in the National Football League, you're not going to find success consistently that way. But East Coast, he said he's starting to correct that, which is good. Caleb Banks, he might have taken a little bit of some plays off here and there. I don't disagree, and so, but that's why I meant if he falls, it might be worth a shot. So, all right. What up, Joshua? What's going on, man? Not Fernando Mac Jones Mendoza. That's got a crazy ring to it. James, you ask, what do I think about Devin Lloyd? I think Devin Lloyd from the Jags. Man, I wouldn't mind it. Look, you got to bring in somebody through free agency. I would not mind Devin Lloyd. You got to bring him in. I don't know what his free agency number looks like as of right now. But I think that's all dependent on just how we address or who we want to target in the draft. Devin Lloyd, I feel like he's going to be kind of a hot name a little bit as it relates to the linebacker market. And the question is that going to be just another decent splash that we want to kind of go after? Like, how are we going to address the linebacker room? I like Devin Lloyd. I do think that he'd be worth spending some decent capital on. But again, it's just how much at this point. But I'm going to be keeping my eye on him without question. I'm going to be keeping my eye on him, man. So I appreciate the super chat, big dog. All right, so let's do this. All right. Top ones, I think somebody already talked about DJ Reader. Let's see, did someone else kind of throw DJ Reader? Where's the flag? You threw DJ Reader out there. You got David Onyemata from Atlanta. Guys, let me know if there's a name that kind of pops out to you. Look, DJ Reader is a guy that you could definitely take a look at. Let's see. You got Daquan Jones. Guys, I'm gonna scroll through this slowly. Let me know if there's a name that pops up, because then it's going to be the last thing we're doing. Then we're going to get out of here. John Franklin Myers from Denver. When I first initially started looking at some of the names, what popped out at me is we might need to address this in the draft, but at the same time, I got to know exactly what their demands are going to be within free agency. Let's see. You got Larry Ogunjobi. You got Sebastian Joseph, DJ Wanham, Cameron Jordan. All right, old school Cameron Jordan. He's still out there. Same with Calais Campbell. God damn, Calais Campbell. I don't even know why he would be. Why he'd even try to play again. So let's see. All right, Big John. You're saying draft CJ Allen. Linda, what happens if the Raiders don't have to pay $31 million to Wilkins? So I don't know. That's going to be very interesting. I haven't heard any word as to what's going on with that, so I have no clue. If we're gonna have to pay that, if we're gonna get, if we're on the hook for it, all of a sudden, that's going to help us. but I have heard absolutely nothing as it relates to the Christian Wilkins situation. So, chat, let me know if you guys have heard anything. But that is still looming. We don't know how that's going to play out. And even if that's going to take full effect or play out this season, I have absolutely no clue. So, guys, I'm scrolling. Let me know. There's really nobody that's really popping out at me that I'd want to take a flyer on and bring in. We have, obviously, Adam Butler still on there on the roster. And so, again, I'm looking more maybe just bringing somebody through the draft, try to get somebody next to Adam Butler. I believe he's 2 more years on his contract. So if you get somebody in that's fairly young that you can kind of help build on, I think that might be the way I'd like to go. So let's see. I'm not seeing anybody that's kind of throwing some names out there. You got Rick L saying, I think he's back up a little bit. Jaden Phillips, he's only 26. No, I saw him. Let's see. Jalen Phillips. Yep, only 26. I think Jalen Phillips is tough. I think he went. Is that the same Jalen Phillips that hurt himself in Miami? I can't remember. But I'll definitely. I'll take a. I'll keep that on my radar. Let's put it that way. John Fallon, you like Myers from Denver? I think he was John Franklin Myers from Denver. Let's see. I will keep an eye out on that. Oh, where's the flag? Cam Jordan. That didn't happen to him, but it would been insane him and Max. Yeah, probably insane with him and Max maybe a couple years ago. I think he's definitely on the tail end, man. But it'll be weird. It'll be weird to kind of see him in silver and black, and even if he's going to keep playing. TN, this year's free agency D linemen are weak. It doesn't look like the strongest free agency class. Where's the flag? Andrew Billings. God damn, Andrew Billings. 7th, I would be surprised if they end up paying Max. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Where's the flag? Dolphins ain't letting Phillips go anywhere. Okay, I think that's the different Phillips then. Let's see. Good old Shelby Harris. I know. Let's see. All right, yeah, Phillips would be great. Okay, he is. Okay. Yeah, man. If that's the same, if that's the same Jaden Phillips, because he's the one that I think popped his ACL, I think. I liked him. Without question. I'll do more research to see just kind of where he's coming from. Yeah, I hadn't seen anyone playing States football players this year. I know. Raquel, Rashid Shaheed, I'm done with the lobby returning kicks. Hey, maybe Rashid Shaheed come in here and do it. You know what I'm saying? James, appreciate you. Do you like Elijah Vera Tucker? Oh, Jesus. Do I like Elijah Vera Tucker? I'd want to draft somebody before we try to bring somebody like that in my opinion. I definitely want to build to the draft at this point. I think that we're going to offload a lot of players in the draft. And in my opinion, I think Elijah Vera Tucker, I wouldn't mind him, but that's only if, and I don't know where he's going to go. I don't know where he'll potentially end up and what type of draft or what type of capital he's going to want. But I would potentially like to draft more in that position group as opposed to kind of bringing him in my opinion. I want to build to the draft. And depending on what his cap space or his salary cap looks like and what he's going to demand, it's just another guy that, again, if my memory serves me correctly, I don't know how healthy he can stay, and that would be one of my bigger concerns. And so, again, that's if my memory serves me right. I think he's got some injury concerns here and there, and that's why I'd struggle kind of bringing him in. But, man, I appreciate the super chat. So, yeah, he looked great in Philly after the trade. He healed up. Okay, all right. Where's Flagger shit? Yeah. They traded him to the Eagles. I forgot Phillips. Yeah, he was a free agent. My bad. Yeah, he went. He was with Dolphins, and then you traded him over. And I didn't watch him too much. I didn't see too much of him, to be honest with you. Yeah. Bear Tucker's another guy that can't stay healthy. Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure if my memory served me right about his injury history. So, yeah, maybe someone I don't necessarily want to take a flyer on with that history, but I definitely want to start building to the draft. That's my biggest thing. I want to build to the draft and start this thing right. Let's build the foundation, and let's rock out. So, okay, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I've been on way too long. I started at 5 o'clock. It's already 8 o'clock, 3 hours. Jesus Christ, man. I appreciate everybody that's rocked out with me. Make sure you guys jump over. I believe they're still on. Jump over to Jeff, 401 Raider. He's live. Go check out Leo as well. You got J Raider. You also got LV Raider Nate. Go check those guys out. Tomorrow, I'm going to be live with my guys in Raider War Room, Chris Peck Show podcast, as well as The Severe Raider. We're going to rock out with those guys. We're going to get their takes as well on all the free agents and everything else coming up. But we're also going to be I didn't get to my takes about the Super Bowl, so maybe we'll rock out tomorrow and talk more about the Super Bowl. And so I appreciate all you guys rocking, man. Do me a massive favor. Double tap that screen before you get out of here. Hit that sub button. If you're over on Twitter, come on over. Real Talk Raider Nation. I appreciate all the subscribers. I appreciate everybody that's viewing. I appreciate all the super chats, man. I can't thank you guys enough, but definitely tap in tomorrow. We're going to go at 5 o'clock Pacific time, and we're going to go live, chop it up about all things Raiders. So we appreciate you, man. Appreciate everybody that was viewing, that chopped it up and rocked out with me. So have a great rest of your night. I'll see y'all tomorrow. I'm out of here. Peace.